Hello. I'm almost done. I got like 2 bites. 2 bites, chat. My pizza quesadilla. Nom nom nom. Don't choke. I won't choke. Hi, Ashen. I'll be you. Contrast. Sunshine. Oh no, my neighbor's mowing the lawn. Might have to shut the window. Can you guys hear the lawnmower? You can barely hear me? What the heck? Oh, the music's loud. Alright. The music's louder on that screen, that's why. I forgot. Ow. Chew. My bad. Ow. It is a pizza quesadilla. So it's like a pizza, stuffed pizza tortilla thing. It's pretty good. I made it. Alright, I'm done eating. Sounds good. It was really good. I have to shut this window. Sorry, Wookie. It's just too loud. It's disruptive. Wookie's sad now. She can't see out. She can't hear, or she can't get the breeze from the window. Okay, hello. I'm here for real now. That was good. I also finished my water. You know what that means. Time for Pepsi and burps. Wah! Can you hear me better now? I was also kind of far away from the mic before. Wah! Wah! Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. That was a good game? Wait, what? Excuse me. What game? What you mean? I'm coming with you, dear Maria. Oh, this is... That's right, I forgot about that. 6 of 10? Oh, no. Let me check my... Sometimes the gain, like, randomly goes down. Let me check it. Nope, it's right. Oh, you were rating my burp, weren't you? My bad. Too much stuff going on in chat. I'm full now. That was good. I went for a nice walk earlier. Today, instead of lifting, I went for walkies. Because it's beautiful. Oh, excuse me, outside. I don't think it's going to stay that way, though. I think we're supposed to maybe get storms later. Oh, the voice zoo. Do we lurking now? Got a fixed streamer about BS. Uh-oh. Thank you, Ash. I appreciate you. I see your name in lights. Oh no, pizza stuck in my teeth. Happy Friday. What's everybody doing this weekend? Anything fun? Oh, maybe we won't get those storms. Oh, we will. 4 a.m. I will be sleeping. Probably won't even hear them. That happens a lot. I'm coming with you, dear Maria, count me in. I think we're doing work on our house this weekend. And of course, I always do laundry on Sundays. So that'll be fun. Just kidding. I'm gonna take my medicine. Take it now before I forget. Love this bottle. I think we're not actually starting games until 8, if I remember correctly. Oh, banger song. Mm-hmm. Who knows what anime this song is from? I'll give you a hint. It was an ending song. Anyone? Anyone? Kichimasen. Oh, I know what I can do. Uh-oh. Excuse me. Sorry. I need to get a burp counter. Oh my gosh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Heck yeah. Frick yeah. Wait, how do I... Oh, here we go. Download. I got my background, my new background today. In the Discord, I asked the community what... if I should do like an actual like debut thing, or if or if we just see things as they roll out. And we decided to do a debut thing, so that's what I'm gonna do. So you guys can't see the new background yet, even though it's really freaking cool. Ah, it looks so good. It looks so good. On time, professional, skills, value, responsive, productive, communication, attentive, receptive. To work with them. Left, right, left, right, left, right, go. Heck yeah. Aww. I love that artists can review the clients on VGen. It's so cute. I love that. What? Ooh la la. So all we have left now is the new emotes and the model retextures, which I think won't be until oh yeah, July I think. No, not till like July probably. I don't know. Let me check and see if she has a queue thing. Whoops. That's left, right, go. Work queue. So it says that I'm in the queue to start in May and be due by July, it looks like. I'm gonna do it all at once because I asked in the Discord and a few people were like, do a debut, do a debut. So I'm gonna just wait. You guys can't see, it's a secret. There is one person I'm gonna share the background with, but that's it. Well, there'll probably be another person I share it with too, but yeah. I'm super excited. It's gonna be epic. Wait a minute, you're streaming tonight, right? We're for the RB There Yet? I don't think Red is streaming. I think he's unable. Yeah, I might do that on socials to get the hype up. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What the heck? I don't like that. I want it to just go away. I mean, it's whatever. I don't care. I like to do a little bit of chatting and hanging out here ahead of time. So it's cool. I don't mind. I could do some drawing, I guess, until 8. Because Ghiga and them aren't going to be here until then. I was mostly just curious because I set up my new reactive image and I want to see what it looks like on your stream. So I have to look later. Let's see what's going on Twitter. Do you know who Chonky Lotus is? This is Chonky. She's really cute. Look at them. Look at them. They're getting ready for a 3D model debut, I believe. But this was the first post I saw when I opened Twitter. You got games on your phone? Chonky. Did you see all that drama about Saikuno? It's crazy, right? I feel bad for his girlfriend. Like, I feel bad for those other girls too, until it came out that they didn't even really consider her feelings before making it a public affair. Which is kind of stinky. So I feel really bad for her the most. It sucks. Oh, look, speaking of. Here's the letter that dropped today. Or yesterday, I guess it was. Ooh, that's pretty. You're already following them. Yeah. Spica. Cute. But by far the cover story. Ooh, that's cute. Pragmata? I don't know who that is. Oh, look, trending. Oh, shit. Is it game? Uh. What is the issue? Oh. Wait, they're trying to say she's like a lolly? What? Isn't she supposed to be like his daughter? I don't get it. Is it because of this clip? One sec. An android made to look like a kid? I don't see anything wrong with this clip. I'm gonna be honest. I don't get any sort of like creepy pedo vibes from that. What the fuck? I don't understand the outrage. Is this the only clip? You have the backstory? Oh, let's hear it, Ash. I'm all ears! So they're not allowed to have stories where there's like a parental type figure of the opposite sex and a child? That's not okay? I don't get it. I don't understand. A guy was complaining, crashing out, that he couldn't look under the skirt or something, or that they covered that with clothing. Oh. That's fucked up. But so is the drama about that specific encounter and not about the game in general? People who bought it. Is it even out yet? You just heard of the story? Oh, cool drawing. So it's mostly about so it's mostly about the drama with that person probably then, right? Oh, thanks, Ko-Fi Bot. That's so nice of you. She's so cute. Right? Also, I feel like if anything, she'll be a driver for female interaction with the game. Like women will want to play because of the cute girl in the game. Because everyone knows we like cute shit. Wait, this tweet. Maybe that's what started it and derailed. Probably. You're probably right. This is funny. Pragmata is a Japanese government ploy to boost birth rates. You know what? That's a base tweet. There is a population concern in Japan right now, so that totally makes sense. What is all this? Frappy. Yeah, that's it. I can't even find anything about that, really. Oh, that was that guy's retweets. Ew. That's kind of creepy. I think a few weirdos were like, can't wait for mods for this game. What a bunch of fucking weirdos, dude. That's gross. This badge is a reference to a popular meme about enjoying cartoon child porn. What? I never heard of that. A million streamers have this exact emote. as as their cry emo. What are you talking about? I will say I've been getting all of those baby Phoebe from Wavering Wave shorts. Makes my dad vibes come out. Aw. Your biological clock is ticking, Wambat. That seems a little unhinged. I don't really understand that tweet. My guy, I don't have that. Sure you do. Every organism has the need to procreate. It either works or it don't. Come on. But yeah, that's a crazy jump. That's a crazy jump to make. Evening all, the storms are past us, so I'm gonna try and get things done online. Hi Izzy, how are you? We're just seeing what's good on Twitter today. I've been getting a little bit of attention on Twitter the last few days. It's been positive and negative attention. I just had to open my big mouth and say something about Meld's new AI feature. Whoops, my bad. Yeah, so how's that going? So it's fine. I haven't really had any interactions today except for this one guy who retweeted my tweet. This guy right here. Whoever this guy is. He's retweeted me twice now and just says like bruh or oh my god, you gotta be kidding me or something like that. He doesn't add any value to the conversation. Just says just that. How dare your voice hear me? I know. So he hasn't really had anything. So after he retweeted me the second time, I made a comment. And I said, where'd it go? You trying to get my attention or something? That was all I said. And he's ignoring me now, so it's fine. I don't care. Doing pretty good. I saw that Jazza tried to figure out how to make a VTuber avatar. And his path was almost identical to mine. He also realized PNG tuber is where it's at for him. Oh, that's cool. I really was into my PNG tuber phase. I'd actually like to get a new one to use sometimes when I feel like it or whatever, you know, with my new design. But the people I want to commission for that, I need money. A booty? That's Papa Lemon. But yeah, so I got a little bit of attention from that whole thing. And one of the AI guys that I had a discussion with, I will say this, the guys that interacted with me directly through like a comments, they were all very cool. Like they weren't jerks, they didn't do name calling, there was no being an asshole, like none of that happened. It was just like adult discussion on the topic of generative AI and AI in general. And most of the time, with most of them, I was able to find a good middle ground where we were like, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. I get it. I don't have one, but as an idea in case I get a game that's a little too strong. Yeah. It's good to have one. Just in case you want to use it. Maybe you don't feel like being as animated that day with your model and you want to do something more chill, low key. Like I think when I do drawing streams, a PNG would be good. Because I'm just going to be looking down the whole time anyway. But yeah, so one of the guys I had a discussion with about the AI stuff with Meld, he by the end of it, he even followed me. He was like, you know what? We had a conversation and it was respectful and we were able to communicate, so you get a follow. I was like, fuck, that's sick. I like that. And then I had some other bigger creators interact with some of the stuff I said too, which was insane. So some of them I didn't know who they were because they're more on the tech side of Twitch or YouTube. And then some of them I was like, holy shit, I can't believe they're talking to me or liking my stuff. Hell yeah, there's so many, right? That's what I said. It's something like AI is something like, I'm not going to ruin friendships over that opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if they were like, I hate gay people or something like that. Then that's like, we can't be friends. I'm sorry. I don't roll like that, bro. But if it's just like you like AI and I don't like it, well, whatever. That's fine. I get it. I do. Somebody like me who actually is from the tech community, I get that there's, like Trey was saying in Discord the other day, there's probably a lot of developers out there who are in a really weird place right now. Not just because they might disagree with Gen AI, but also because they're probably a little concerned about the tech industry as a whole, because we're already seeing developers being laid off because they're being replaced with AI that can generate code for them. So why are they going to pay a developer $125,000 a year when they can pay an intern to type in prompts and generate code for $60,000 a year? You know what I mean? So that's the big fear I think most people have with AI in general, is that aside from the environmental, effects that people are concerned about, we're already seeing an effect where it's replacing people's jobs, right? Like, you go to McDonald's, they don't take your order anymore if you go inside. It's all done through a kiosk, which means they don't have to have anybody running a cash register, right? So they can hire less workers to just work in the kitchen and the drive-thru, and nobody has to worry about manning a cash register up front. So it's things like that where, like, and probably COVID was a big push for that because nobody wanted to work those jobs anymore because they were getting paid shit. And COVID was a time when people started realizing they were getting treated and paid like shit. So they stopped working fast food jobs. So it's probably a little bit of both there. Like, technology took over and they needed people to work, right? There's a lot to it, I feel like. There's a lot to it. Ghiga, hello. How you doing? Oh, now I'm gonna get pragmata stuff on my on my timeline. What you mean? There is a lot of layers to it. I agree. It's really, like, one of the guys I talked to. We ready to wreck an RV? Hell yeah, we are. Rockstar style. With beer and cigarettes. One of the guys I talked to was super insightful to talk to because he's been in the industry for over 20 years as a programmer and probably working with AI as well, I'm assuming. And his perspective was really interesting and technical. And I liked that. And he did bring up a good point about, so, and I knew this already because I messed around a little bit with it myself when I was a programmer, but you can use basic HTML and CSS to make drawings and make art. And I think that's technically what the meld thing is doing. It's generating the code that's generating the piece of art, right? Or the code is making the art. Ready to lose the game, right? And I think that was the main thing that people were trying to say from the other side, is that it's not Gen AI or whatever. But technically it is because it's generating code. So from that perspective, it's still Gen AI. And also, how does it know? Hi, Red. How does it know if I type in a prompt? Like, I watched Harris Heller's video, right? which is kind of a bummer to see him pushing it so hard. I'll be honest, though, when I was watching that video, he didn't really seem very enthusiastic about it. But anyway, he was like, he typed in the prompt thing, make a chat overlay with on-stream chat with Twitch and YouTube and make it Pokemon themed. And so it did. But how does the model know what Pokemon is? Unless it scraped some sort of data somewhere or imagery somewhere to produce the code to make it look like Pokemon. Pixels are just a number value. Are they just code too? Technically, yeah. So I've done art projects in the past where I used purely HTML and CSS to make a picture. Are we all just code? Yeah, we're just the Matrix. So from that perspective, I get what they're saying. But also, in the little window. Well, I'm excited for that movie, actually. I want to see it. So, like, right here, too complex. Your brain ain't nothing but an emotional computer. It's true. He's right. We're all just AI. Is it a good song? It is a good song. No, okay, but you have to watch the trailer, the actual trailer, because it actually looks really entertaining and really good, and I'm actually really excited to watch it. Back to lurking work. You guys have fun destroying yet another vehicle. Thanks, Ash. Oh, stinky fox. Well, I gotta undeafen. There we go. Hello. Nah.
I have cornbread.
I love cornbread.
Right?
I was just talking today at work about my favorite chicken wing place. Used to have this bomb ass cornbread, and they don't have it anymore, and I'm sad.
Kill him. Sorry. Nah.
Yeah. Cornbread good. What's up, Red? How you doing?
Hold on, there's a lot of cornbread in my mouth and I can't talk. Let's just narrow it down to WoW sucks and people need to explode.
Oh no. Is that drama in your guild still going on?
Apparently it's gotten much worse.
Oh shit.
Oh. That's the best part about dramas.
So then it gets worse.
Cool. Yeah. No, whenever I used to do like a lot of EVE Online stuff, like there's definitely some corpse, what they call it in EVE, and she's like, guys, we're a bunch of old men playing this game. How's there this much drama?
Dude,
like,
it just proves it just proves that when men are like, women are too emotional, that they don't know anything because men be emotional.
It's
wild. I don't know. Be friends with people for years upon years, but somebody comes in, strokes their dick, strokes their ego a little bit, and all of a sudden it's, you do nothing but be nice to these people, and suddenly it's just like, oh, this person's better, and he sucked my pee-pee too, so I'm gonna join him. It's like, what the?
Damn. That's crazy.
All we asked, 2 nights a week, come hang out and play the game, have fun. All we want. What does it become? Fucking backstabbing, literally cyberbullying people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right.
And you're all a bunch of grown-ups,
right, dude? And it's like, it's all these horrible things, hiding away from people, talking this shit behind people's backs, and like that's the people they're gonna join. I'm just like, okay, well, that's your fault.
If I get involved from like a social status into a game, I make a different discount, a court account. like there's no way I'm going to join a guild, especially like stuff of that nature. Yeah, no, I am not joining as Ghiga. I'll join as whatever player character I am.
Oh yeah.
Yep, nope, especially Eve. Eve is like one of the most brutal games. So yeah, no, I'll create a new Discord account and be a different person.
There you go.
Granted, the average age of like Eve Online players is like 40. So
Really?
oh, it's guys that have been there since the game launched. Like there's
Yeah,
guys
that
that are
makes
50,
sense.
60 playing the game.
That's the same for WoW.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, that's my boyfriend.
Dude, apparently my raid group's about to lose over half of its raider. I'm gonna need your boyfriend.
Babe! Red needs you!
Do you want a drama-filled guild?
Red needs you to join his WoW guild.
There's no requirements. He just has to name the character Babe. That's the only rule.
Yeah, they had a bunch of drama and a bunch of stupid people left.
Oh no,
Yeah,
we'll leave.
They do. They raid
that's all
2
gonna drop
times a week.
probably Tuesday.
What days is it? Tuesday and when?
Tuesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday at what time?
It starts at 9:30, goes to 12, and there is no hard requirements because we just want to be there and have.
9:30 to 12.
I'm in
Tuesdays
bed by
and Thursday
then.
Dude,
night.
yeah, I know. I don't want to go to 12. The other group in the guild goes 9 to 11:30. It's so much better.
Yeah.
We have one that like starts at 7. And
Well,
we're
it's
done
because
by
they all
9.
have kids, right? So they have to wait till after the kids go to bed.
That tracks.
Some of them have kids. Some of them don't care, and they have to like take care of their kid halfway through raid.
Oh right. Oh yeah, you
That's-
mentioned that before.
Yeah, and that's once again the people backstabbing and can't even stay there the whole night, and people they
Yeah,
choose.
they're
I'm gonna lose it.
Do you mythic or heroic?
We get through heroic. We do mythic for funsies.
They get through heroic and do mythic for fun. Yeah.
It's casual. Just tell them it's casual.
It's a casual guild.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. That's what he said.
I don't think you're hardcore enough from Red.
No, but
He
you can
likes
still come
to
around and
do,
say hi.
What's that other thing you like to do in WoW, babe? The fighting. Arena.
Just like
He likes to do
Arena. Well, arena's fun if you're into it.
But he never has a partner as good as him.
Shit.
So he always gets mad. This stupid
I know
son of a
nothing.
bitch.
I know
I just-
nothing about WoW.
I just random my arenas to get the gear and I move on.
There you go. I think that's what he ends up doing too. He always gets stuck with somebody who sucks. Because his friends never want to do arenas with him. Well, also, I don't think any of them are good enough to do arenas with him. But yeah, you can connect with Red if you want a raid group twice a week.
Doesn't even have to come twice a week. It doesn't even have to be there the whole time.
Oh, he said you don't have to be there the whole time either if you don't want. So if you want to go from like, what was it, 9:30?
9:30 to 12.
So if you want to come at 9:30 and at 11, you're like, well, I'm done. Nobody will care.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the people that's leaving and apparently being one of the leaders leaves at 11 all the time. And that's one of the people they're fucking... That's one of the people we've had a friendship with for like over 10 years, and they're still choosing these people they've known for a year.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yes, that's... She's left and come back multiple times depending on her schedule, and we've always welcomed her with open arms each time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my problem is I won't want to stop at 11.
I know.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? We've been staying up till midnight almost every night anyway, which is why I'm so tired all the time. Babe's staying up playing Arc Raiders and WoW, and I'm staying up doing stream shit. Oh. Alright, well, you might have a new recruit. We'll see.
Chi, I just
Just has
posted
to
in my
be Babe,
Discord
only rule.
Just posted on
that
Discord.
I was live with you and stuff of that nature. I just realized, like, oh, the new PFP stuff. Like, I love this character design. I've definitely liked your tweets and everything on it. Like, I like the design. Their artist did such an amazing job.
Isn't
with, like,
it
the PFP
amazing?
and everything.
Oh my god, I love Kize so much.
And now it's going to be like, hey, can you rig this to a live 2D model?
So
That'd be so expensive, I'm sure. But
so low
that's really
key, Kize actually offered to make me model art.
Oh.
with this
Yeah.
design,
Yes, for free as a gift. Because
Whoa!
did you
because we're
accept it?
Of course I did.
Yeah, you better.
It's one of those things though where like he's a really He's
But he's a little tiny guy.
He's a really busy webcomic artist, and he has a
Mhm.
contract he's working on right now. So it's one of those things where like it'll be a casual thing he works on and off when he has time.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know? And he's never made a model before, so I think that's one of the other reasons why he's doing it for me as a gift, is because it's his first time doing model art, which is completely different from regular art, right?
All the crazy layers and everything.
Yeah, and I told him not to sweat it too much because I can always go in after him and help do the cutting because I know a little bit about how that works. So then I just got to save up money for a rigger. So I've been like following every rigger I come across on Twitter lately, so I can keep them in mind for when I need to hire a rigger later.
Look, I know a thing or two about rigging. You get what I'm saying?
Oh.
No, that's not what I'm saying, too.
Oh.
You did not
Ayo.
understand, I think. There.
Ayo. Fun O.
I have no comment, Red. I don't know what you mean, but I have ideas. But we're good. We're good.
You want me to show you?
No, we're good. The last
No.
thing you showed me was the game that she found on Steam that made her force
Oh, no.
stop her stream. So
I posted those clips and I ended up deleting them. I was worried about getting banned.
Uh-oh.
But then I posted the red with the plunger and party animals.
My game just crashed.
Your game just patched?
Crashed.
Oh, crashed.
That's concerning.
Did you
Time to save.
Did you start it with the right doesn't have two options for starting it up?
I'll just turn down everything.
good morning.
Morning.
Hello, Catboy.
I guess it is
I
morning somewhere.
I just woke up from a nap, so
Australia?
Oh. I feel you on that. I think that was like Wednesday. I crashed out and just slept.
Are you live yet,
There was-
Wambat?
Yep, I am live and live and going.
I
God,
gotta
I was
go. I
about to
gotta
say
go
live
see
and in
what
charge.
I gotta go see what my new reactive looks like. I'm so
Oh,
Did it work?
looks really pretty. I like it.
should be real cute.
I gotta get me a
Oh,
new React
that's
now.
amazing. I love that.
I love it. I looked at, you sent me the card for it, and I looked up the VGen, and their comms are closed.
Yeah, they probably sold bad because they're selling them for only $20.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit, I need to turn up the price. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get too many.
She did them. It's 20 for the talking, the idle, and the mute, and then for $30 you could also get $30.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could also get a deafen one, which would be your mascot instead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I need
it
to send
was-
that in. By the way,
it was
I
super
have
cute.
my artist was at Evo doing
Ooh.
some wares, so I didn't want to send her anything until after she got back. I didn't want to bother her. I want her to just let her focus.
Oh, sure, that's cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I'm hoping in the future I can hit them up again and be like, "Hey, I got $10. Can you do the deafen one for me now?" Here's
Hey,
$10.
do you mind adding on now?
I'm sure
That'll
they
be
wouldn't
another
mind.
$40.
No! No, please.
At this point, Les has given me this character and also a Santa gig version,
Right?
Mhm.
which we have used. So I was just like, "What do I lean into the not a phase and run with the Fae version as an alternative model or something?"
Are you thinking about doing
What type
it?
of monster look?
Yeah, emo phase.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's the cool part about being a VTuber is like all the character designs, the characterization, while like
Yeah.
being a flesh tuber, you're just like, hi, I have a new
me.
cardigan. This is the only character change I got.
Hi, my hair's falling out. So guess what? You're gonna deal with it.
I luckily don't have that worry yet. Anyways, I got a
yeah,
few
it's the
more.
key term.
The button broke my game.
Join friends.
You're broken?
Who am I joining? Who has the game running?
My
I
mouse-
think Rhett's the one that had it saved last time.
I have
That
it.
hosted
Am
last
I
time.
offline? Is
Yeah,
that
Red
why?
Yeah,
House.
if you're offline, I
Oh.
don't think I can invite you.
Hold on. Let me friend
I fixed it.
online. I'm online. Oh look,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
about to
I'm
play. Are
online
we
now
there yet?
too. I forgot.
F5.
Oh, it's
There we go.
Oh, hey, look, ready, red hoodie. You're ready now. Okay,
Ready, steady.
ready invited me. A boy.
Why is it not
When you guys
working?
get in, I can show you a cool thing I discovered already.
Hammer.
There we go.
Butter jelly time.
Who wants?
Coming in right now. All right.
Who
I'll
wants to
switch
go see a
myself over
cool
to
thing?
the game mode. In game mode. Activate.
I'm waiting for Wayne to catch up. He's slow.
Shut up. Not slow.
Aren't you the oldest one here, Red?
Yeah. Good.
I mean, because he's 300 and something years old.
The
Something like
young.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
We'll just leave Wayne back. Follow me
Where are you going?
on an adventure.
I'm already half dead.
Discard helps.
How are
Oh,
we
I forgot
doing
to
this?
turn the music down.
For funsies.
Here we go.
No, I said,
All
how
right.
are we
I'm-
doing
I'm coming.
this?
I'm coming.
Oh, how do we climb that? I don't know. Physics.
Dude, that is easier
Um,
than peak. What the fuck?
Right? Look, and that's the first checkpoint area.
Oh, that's where we came from.
Thank-
Oh.
No, is that the
Oh, I need to die because
Oh.
I'm basically dead anyways. Go revive me.
Is that the first area? Is it the... No. what
Question
that
is
area?
where's the next one?
I don't know this area.
Well,
Wait,
we
I
kind of
don't
like
think that's where
floated
it came
over
from.
everything.
That is not where we came from. All right. Anyway,
We came
you
from
was there,
the
let's go back up.
icy, slopey slopes.
You gotta be
Oh
careful.
crap. Chi, did you want to link chat?
Oh yeah, Red usually does that. 1 second.
Yeah, hang on. I'll do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
Thanks for letting me be back alive and now
I
have
got
half
it.
health instead of
I'm gonna go
Okay.
like 10% health. Who's dead?
Just waiting
Revive
for whatever
friends.
pops in.
Where'd you guys go? Where's
I'm
Wayne at?
assuming.
Hey, I'm still up on the top of the mountain.
I know,
Knock,
pretty
knock.
low.
This is where we.
Except
Oh wow, this is
Do
a
you think
lot
I'm going
harder
to
than
answer a
that.
door?
you just gonna
knock?
shove me off? Okay, you picked me up.
Yeah, I'm gonna
die.
Knock, knock. Leave a message. You should have texted.
All right, let me move my thing a
Um,
little bit back over.
Wait, did it work?
Where'd she go?
It should have. I hit accept.
It's just giving me the.
Oh
stupid
god, there it
download.
goes. It worked. It just opened a whole nother page.
Oh, did
There's
I do
Chi.
it twice?
Mute myself on all others.
Wait, I can't get to the dashboard thing though. Where is it?
We're happy when West Virginia.
Why is it show chat? Oh. Oh, you opened a whole new chat thing. A whole new window for everyone to look at.
Oh, Lola's barking.
Who's barking?
My dog.
Me.
Oh.
Let's drop that one then. Because I think you shared the whole thing.
I didn't share anything.
Well, when I hit accept, it opened a whole new like thing
Yeah,
all
no,
together
it-
with a
yeah,
UI.
Yeah, it should. It should be a separate UI thing that opens.
Yeah,
Like a collab window is what should technically open.
Yeah.
yeah, but
it-
usually it's this really small one. This one is just
Oh,
an
no.
extra.
I've
tab.
usually had like a whole
Oh yeah,
page.
mine's usually a whole tab. Yeah. Except mine's not opening right now for some reason.
Oh well, okay.
So I can't.
This
turn
looks
the chat
mildly
on if
concerning.
I can't get in that screen.
We're getting hit by a cougar. Or
Oh
mountain lion, I
no.
guess.
Oh, okay. A cat. Got it.
Damn, that didn't work.
Oh, I'm under the bridge somehow, so.
Oh, there
Oh,
we
hey,
go.
I'm free. Oh,
not good.
you're all in a sticky situation.
We're all
mean,
just gonna
oh.
fall to our death.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. There's a
Hey,
cougar
there you go, you
between
got
me
it.
and you all,
Yeah,
and
I
I think I'll
figured it out.
pass.
Huh.
Okay, let me
Yeah, a vicious
move
cougar.
back over to my stuff so I can see everything, as we fall to our deaths.
What?
Oh, there goes
Baloney.
the
All
RV.
right, cool.
Farewell, y'all.
Well, are
I
all the
fair and
wheels
square
intact
due
at
to this
least?
sound.
I'm dead again.
No, not all the wheels are intact.
What are you doing? You come here, you silly little dead corpse. You.
Just gonna put my corpse in the bus.
Ah, good enough.
Hey, a bounce.
Oh, banged his head on. What
Oh shit.
How did you do this, Red?
do you mean? I took the bus.
I mean, put
And I ran it
put
off
the
a cliff.
RV in the way it is. Gosh darn it.
There we go.
On my screen, my name is player with long name and symbols. Quote unquote. Yeah. On my screen, player with long name and symbols.
How do we
Okay, that's
get
an
out of
option.
this?
You don't, Red.
Yeah, better question. How do we blow up the RV?
I don't want to pick it up. I
Can't you
wanna
just
use
restart it? Isn't there a restart
Oh yeah,
button?
there's a restart button somewhere.
Is there a straight up button for this?
Oh,
Forgot
wait, what happened?
it. That works.
I don't pay attention
Red's
for
a
a
little
couple
rusty.
minutes because I'm trying to figure out shared chat, and you guys are all.
That's fine. I need to die
I know.
and resurrect again because my health sucks. So country road
I ran
in
this off
the
the cliff.
arms of an angel.
Let me know when you're dead.
I'm dead.
Change.
You didn't
chat.
poof.
I'm
Oh, it's because I'm
still-
already holding an item.
I'm
Hang on a
now
second.
under the map. I'm alive.
There.
I was under the map. Thank you.
Apparently, it doesn't let you res people while holding a power drill.
Well, you're resurrected, but we had to screw your joints back
Nice.
together.
Yeah,
Hey, look, Seared chap. Wow.
we
I'm just
got. We
gonna
had to
stop
put those
talking.
lug nuts back
Seared.
on.
Seared.
Seared.
Welcome to the Seared chat, everyone. Oh, my
Oh, dear
feet.
Lord.
My
I thought I
little
could go through it.
Boing.
My little footprints and my little footprints.
All right, let me just. And
Yeah.
you. All right.
Ow. Ow.
Meow. I fixed.
Okay,
Wait,
and we leave
wait,
those two.
don't leave
Hey,
me.
what are you doing?
Don't
Red!
leave me.
On the road again.
Every
Red!
time.
I just can't wait.
Oh no,
to
my
get
game's
on the road
crashing.
again.
What? Did it die?
My
Just,
game's
I just
crashing.
yeeted the. Oh, your game's. You're running in place.
game's
So good.
crashed.
Not running in place. You're just running in a straight line.
I just can't wait to get on the road
I
again.
can't even open my.
We're,
There we go.
I don't think we're actually supposed to cross that bridge there, right? Is that?
well, it's not to the right. That's a giant chasm, apparently.
All right, I got you, Chi.
There's
Just
so
at the
many.
bottom of that chasm.
Oh,
there's
oh!
nothing.
Did you just
Oh,
drive off the
Or you
cliff?
just run up the road. That works.
Farewell.
Yeah. I can't.
Did you close the game, Chi?
I'm trying.
Oh.
I can't open task
Alt
manager
F4s and it
'cause the
just
game's
closes
annoying.
OBS.
That would be
Oh, that's
terrible.
funny. It respawns like it's like different things in here.
It just says, I'm done.
I'm done.
Fuck it.
Someone did that with Excel today at work. It's like, how in the world did you even get to the screen to where I can't even like Alt F4 Excel? Like, what did you do?
An Excel?
Yeah, it's just like
Damn.
Excel's not supposed to do this. Like,
How do
stop.
I-
Never touch a computer again. Thank you.
I have powers.
Oh, I need to die. That wasn't
It's
far
not
enough to kill me.
closing.
You
Oh,
can't
Task
close the
Manager
game.
just
can't.
not-
Giga's killing himself. I'm driving
Oh,
us
what?
off cliffs.
So
way
they
that's
didn't
bad.
excel at that. My game won't close, so I can restart it.
Go ahead.
Throw me
Stupid Unreal Engine.
as far as
Go
you
away.
want.
Throw me, Jack. Throw me.
Oh.
Bounce. Bounce, Jojo, bounce, bounce. I'm back.
Won't it let me open windows over top of this stupid game?
I've seen some like funny Minecraft.
Throw me, Jack. Throw me like one of
People
your
have, like,
French girls.
instant respawn and to keep inventory on, so it's like the ReZero anime.
Oh, you meant draw. My bad.
It's
There
so
you go.
funny.
It had to throw a warning and pop up and tell me that it's not working. No shit.
Did that just say it hung itself?
Yes,
Oh, hung
it's-
up. Whatever. Close
said it
enough. Tonight will be the night that I will fall for you.
God.
Over again.
A dark emo joke here.
No.
I win.
All right, can you
I'm not alright.
Damn.
I'm not okay.
You're not okay?
I'm not okay.
Damn.
Had to live through the late 1900s.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
But that's
Now, the 90s, I can totally believe that.
I mean, the 90s was the 1900s.
True.
Emo and ska bands and
I remember
like Cherry Poppy
Cherry
Daddies.
Grits.
Yeah.
Good times.
Red,
Fucking
you
threw all
remember
that tea in the
Beethoven as
harbor.
a kid as well, but
Hey, let me tell you, the amount of tea I threw in that fucking harbor, crazy.
that why
That's
we
all
drink
Earl
soda
Grey,
these
so it
days?
doesn't matter.
Dude, my game is really having a hard time.
We all do. We're millennials.
It's a
Is Red
black
considered
screen.
millennial? I don't know. What's
I'm actually
3,000?
almost dead.
What?
I'm gonna go kill
300?
myself.
What generation is 300 years ago?
That's
Someone
what I
look that up for me.
Stone Age.
Is it baby boomers?
300 years ago?
300, yeah, 300.
No.
This man.
The Draculan
No,
age.
no, that's not a lot far enough.
It's a lot further back.
So much
No.
fun.
Why is CC saying
Res
damn,
me
damn,
and
damn,
I'll
damn, damn, damn,
Google.
damn, damn, damn?
Huh?
On your screen, I have your closed captions, and
Oh.
it just says damn, 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 damn.
Yeah, that's because they're bad. They don't work good. I think I need to find a different captioning plugin that's better.
Yeah, this is what it says. That's not working. No shit. Yes, said it. Damn, 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 and it just says it like
Oh, okay,
30
so-
times in a row.
On April 17th, 1726, the world was in the early
year.
Georgian era with King George I ruling Great Britain.
Fuck that guy.
So that's where 300 years ago was.
Can you send me an invite, Red?
Full score.
Almost to the Revolutionary War, baby. Giga, can you res me?
No. I would
Thank you.
like to, but I think I'm halfway to the next checkpoint.
Red did.
Although I'll probably
Yeah.
die here when I fall off this
Okay.
mountain. So. Oh, yep. Country roads take me home.
I'm ready.
I'm bouncing, breaking all my bones. Okay.
I mean, I don't think West Virginia would prefer you to break your bones.
They might.
Then you can't work. Then you can't pay taxes.
My sister was born in West Virginia. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Richmond and North Richmond.
I don't know. They lived there for like
It was like, what?
a year. That was about it. A year or two, and then I came back.
Oh, I forgot. I'm like showing my Windows screen so you see where I mute myself every time so I can cough. I'm not coughing at everybody's ears.
That's why I pushed the mute button on at least on stream.
Yeah.
All right, I thought if you hit ice hard enough, oh, there's a fucking cougar on.
Those
us.
vicious cougars again.
Okay.
Down,
my
girl,
Yeah.
down.
Why does my
China
game
was
keep
good.
crashing? It worked perfectly fine last time.
There we go.
Cougar.
I thought if you
Where's
hit
the
the ice
cougar?
hard enough, it broke, but I hit it at like 2. It didn't.
Oh, after it broke everything,
Oh,
it screwed
I can
off.
hear
Got
I
it.
can hear the cougar.
It's currently
Well,
up on
cougar's
a
gone.
rock.
I crashed again.
That's the thing about cougars.
What?
They all
They often leave.
they'll
After they
come
get
back.
what they
Does
want.
this actually have a flare in it?
Should.
If it'll tell you if otherwise.
Yeah, I think it says empty if it isn't.
That
I don't know why
did
my
not.
game keeps crashing. It's like use DirectX 11 for less crashes, and I keep fucking crashing.
Did you swap to 12? Just a wild chance it worked.
No, I probably should have. Last time I couldn't use 12 because it kept crashing.
The game just said, "Screw you, Chi. We're not going to let you work."
I guess so.
You're not allowed to play this game.
What's the game plan here, guys?
I have no clue.
We just gonna
If we shoot
ramp
it with the
up
flare, does it unmelt?
I tried. It didn't do anything.
Okay.
Do we have a?
I swear there was an ice wall I hit before and it just broke.
Get that nail gun, maybe.
Or maybe we go to the right, looking at it.
No, it's just gone.
Nail gun it.
This
We
is
have
the
more than
worst.
2 planks, so we nail gun and then make a connect
I don't
when the
think I can
board's
make this
connecting,
jump.
Oh, there's so much stuff out there.
so we can
Maybe
walk.
we-
We can kind of
Is there
turn
something
around.
out there,
it.
Red?
I need either a plank or a person. Take
How about a
Oh.
plank and a person?
A
Just
plank,
you
some.
up the plank.
Oh, there it goes. Maybe.
You got this.
There.
Or I fall underneath.
Use my body. Okay.
I clipped underneath.
Oh, this is gonna suck.
Just don't go, full power so I don't break my legs. I don't want to break my legs.
See if I can throw this board.
Don't break your
Okay.
legs.
You got this.
You're gonna die, Red. I apologize in advance.
Don't underthrow. Thank you.
I am literally stuck. There we go. Oh crap! Can I get around? Up, under, through.
Here, you want these
There.
goggles?
Hey, look at that!
Never mind.
I was able to figure it out.
Here, have the goggles.
Oh, thanks, pal. Just throws him down there with my dead body.
Who's still up there? Wambat, stay there.
Can you send me
Where the-
another invite, please?
Catch. Chi, invite.
Thank you.
Oh, well.
I just
you
heard an
tried.
explosion.
Catch
at
it.
my head.
Wambat, catch.
I'm just gonna be down here
Oh, you're
smoking.
almost out of that time. Wambat,
I just hear things get broken down here.
Wambat. Why
You
don't
know,
get
that would
Wambat,
just
catch?
throw it at the ice directly.
I want to get the thing.
Yeah!
Don't throw it away, Matt. Just throw it at the ice. Wow.
We're out of explosives. I threw it all
Did
at
you even
Wambat.
have a chance to use it on the ice?
Okay.
No, I threw it all at Wambat.
Wow. You were so close. You could have just thrown it at the ice directly.
Ah, shit. Well, that sucks.
Just
I'm alive.
probably reboot.
I'm alive. I'm dead. I'm alive. I'm dead.
That's all. That's
Oh,
true.
I'm alive.
I'm dead.
I'm alive.
I'm gonna.
Unfortunately, I think the
Okay.
person that had all the stuff that would actually be able to melt the ice, maybe.
Red threw away all the stuff.
Look.
Hey,
look,
Bun.
Look.
Oh,
Some Giga good lord me.
Yeah, I don't understand where it was Giga's fault outside of dropping. to his
No, I
death.
was talking about the cougar.
okay, that was supposed to happen. Okay, good.
Oh,
I was crashing
sorry,
again?
I was resetting. Oh god.
Hey,
I will walk 500 miles.
Rock in here.
and I would walk 500 more just to be the man that walked 1,000
Well.
miles and wound. Oh,
Okay.
I got lost
That
halfway
lady.
through. It was like 5 miles away, and now I've walked 1,000 miles just to
If
figure
you're
out where the
ready to
heck I am.
start,
I'm ready.
You're staying.
I'm ready.
hang on. There you go.
Here for the moment.
Giga and his Cougars. That sounds like a band name. A really bad band, but a
Giga
band
and
name
his
nevertheless.
Cougars. It's just Giga.
It's like Josie and the Pussycats, but it's just a whole different brand.
Yeah, it's just Giga and a bunch of 60-year-old ladies.
They call this grandma music. I mean, divorced dad rock's already what it is, so it's only a matter of time before it becomes
Yeah,
grandpa
what-
on.
When did pop? Is it pop?
Emo
Pop
pop?
punk?
Yeah.
And emo?
Pop punk.
When did that
Yeah.
become dad rock? What the fuck? What does that mean?
No.
Yeah,
that-
it became
the-
divorced dad rock.
Divorced Dad Rock. Yeah, my father loves this.
What is
He's
that?
divorced,
Like
by the way.
music to
What?
listen to as you hit the IKEA and pick up new furniture?
Oh no, the 2000s emo pop punk scene is all divorced dad
No,
rock
no,
now.
Well, no.
Divorced
It's
rock.
it's like 2000s emo pop punk and before. You gotta
Yeah,
put in the
yeah.
old ones, the Guns N' Roses and the Black Sabbath or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Well, some of those are like classical rock now.
Yeah, that's still
But
part of the
It
the
is-
divorced
it is
Dad
emo
Rock.
pop
classic
punk
rock,
is
yeah.
pure.
Where's the
Divorced
Cougar this
dad rock.
time?
Right, that's a
looking
good
for?
question. Oh, the Cougars. Hey, Giga.
That's wild.
Hey,
So-
I was going to shoot the Cougar
wait,
real
does
quick.
that mean I'm a divorced dad?
Yes.
What the
That's
fuck?
what you want to be in life.
You're a divorced
No.
granddad at this point.
That's not cool.
Okay,
like
Red,
that.
just throw it at the ice.
It's okay. We're divorced. Okay, Pun. We can be divorced dads together.
Okay, never
Might need
mind.
to be closer.
Yep,
Would,
yep.
would you like one?
Closer, Clarice.
I would
Here,
like
catch
one.
Ghiga.
Closer.
Did it actually work?
All right, I'm gonna just grab this one. You're gonna jump over here,
That's fair.
pick up the lad or the wood, or grab the other one. I don't know if we can drop the other ones without exploding.
What's going on over here?
I'm going to nail gun
Oh
that.
my! Hold on, before you drop it in experimentation.
Okay,
Okay,
it did
cool.
not blow up.
Why is there a thing over there to fix the undercarriage of the bus? Or the RV, I mean. You see it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's way
Oh,
over
that?
there.
I don't know. I'll go check that out later. Going back with nitroglycerin or
It's
some
way
shit.
over in a really weird spot.
I think I'm coming back with Kotsky
Oh,
Bach
a
model.
slime.
Don't slide. Maybe we need it to blow up the ice?
We'll see.
Okay. Boom.
There
Oh
you
no!
go.
Oh, it only blew
Oh,
up.
good.
Okay.
Oh,
Good thing
you
you saved that one,
more.
huh? Ghiga?
I'm going to. Here, this is your problem, Red.
Oh,
I don't trust
okay.
myself with it, so I'm just going to set that there.
It falls between the boards down to the bottom. of the
That
camera.
would totally be.
It's about to roll off.
Physics.
That's there.
Let's hit it with a hammer. Surely it'll fall out of the sky. Oh.
Okay, nail gun doesn't work.
All right.
Maybe
hold
we
on.
can
I want
drive
to go
through
see
it.
about that RV thing.
Maybe we can drive through it. Right?
We'll do that too. I want to go see about this thing over here. What is,
Yeah, why is
why is
that
this
there?
here?
Such a weird
See the
spot
nail
for
gun
it.
rolling away.
Guys, I got it. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
It's okay, Chi. I'm a
Catch.
divorced dad. Okay, Pun.
You too, Pun?
We're gonna be divorced dads together. Start divorce.
there's like
divorce
no way.
dads club, and it's all emo girls in their 30s. Red. Oh,
I didn't make it.
you just broke all your legs.
That's okay. I
Heck
don't need
yes.
all that else I did dust.
Hey, you can't mature as an adult without breaking your legs at least half
Hey,
the
what's
time.
that?
that
there.
explains a lot.
What is that?
Engine oil,
Oh.
I've never
And-
broke my legs.
goggles. Oh, gee, there's goggles. Here, I'm gonna give you the goggles.
I guess you're just not an adult.
Yeah, that's fair. Throw here the power of Thor. There's the hammer. Oh, the hammer's
Oh no, Ghiga!
down there.
He's fine.
The power of Thor.
The
compels
hammer's
you.
not.
Ah!
The nail
Oh, that's
gun.
ice right there.
Where's
Aha.
the nail gun? Is it gone? Oh,
We
yeet! Just yeeted that board half a mile. Come on.
Okay, I
Can
think
we-
we've
can
solved
we
the
yeet the
puzzle
board
to
through
this.
it?
I don't know if the ice is just not loading, working for us properly, so I'm
Well,
gonna scout ahead.
I think we should just
I think it's
drive
getting
through it.
the physics for it.
Oh yeah. Well, let's get some wood down so we can actually drive across this section. That looks good enough. Let's drive at it at Mach 3 or whatever it is called.
We
We'll call
either
it Mach 3,
get through it or die doing it.
Or we go to
Drive
the
my
right,
way
or we
through
start.
ice, trying
Whichever one
to
we
get
go.
it working,
The
but
right
we're
looks
gonna smash.
way lamer.
Smoke them if you got them, boys.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
Oh boy,
Oh.
this next area
Okay.
is.
It's okay.
Oh boy,
Well, I guess I could have shut the door.
oh boy,
My bad.
oh boy.
Don't hit Wambat.
Are we going fuck?
No, we're not going fuck.
Oh!
Ah!
Oh, fuck!
Well,
We ran into that motherfucker.
have a different
Oh,
problem.
maybe that's why that thing was. Oh, it's gone. Oh no. It's
Ah!
I.
Crap it, be off.
You know what they say? Take 5.
gone. Oh, well, that escalated.
That's a good song,
Yes,
by
it
the
did.
way.
hold on.
Have you ever listened to the jazz song Take 5? It's good.
I am
Wait
not.
back. You know
shall have
exactly.
to.
You know what to do. You can just attach it to the wood. Chi, remote.
Oh.
Singing.
Remote.
Pull.
Pull.
I got it. And pull you.
Watch it right because it's stuck in physical space.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll
Yeah.
just break.
Oh
something.
God. Oh well.
Indeed.
The
Indeed,
Harvey
you did
not,
break
though. That's
that.
true.
Well,
I need
Well-
to die again, so that way I can be revived with more than 10% health.
Where are you? Oh, you just already out there.
Yeah, I'm already.
Yeah, why do you go up there? We could just beat you with this hammer over here.
They see me rolling.
You fall.
The hating.
All right. I'm not sticking around.
Chi, you might want to get in.
What? One sec.
Chi.
One
Bye.
sec.
Grab her.
I'm
Country
scared.
roads, take
just a
me
human, just grab her.
home.
Take her. Keep
Oh.
her. Put her.
Oh.
Oh
collar on her.
yeah,
No,
little
don't
bop
pick,
it.
don't pick me up. I'm right here. Don't bop it.
Twist it.
Don't twist it.
don't twist it, please.
What are you
You'll
not
leave
supposed to do?
bruises.
Oh shit! There it goes. Ah!
Why
What
is
the
there
hell?
so
Where'd they
many
come
goats?
from? Fuck those
Oh, that sounded
goats.
miserable.
Fuck those goats. They're bitches. Assholes.
One chasing us. I'm gonna just hope.
Instead of a cougar, it just
One of them is.
Don't fuck. Hashtag don't fuck the goats. Disclaimer.
More goats.
Disclaimer.
There's more
She
goats.
and
Hopefully it
Sector
doesn't throw me
313 do
completely
not
off.
condone the fucking of actual goats.
Ow!
Oh, that's no.
There's a
Wait a
cougar
minute, I got the
and a
goats.
goat. Oh my god. I'm
I
sorry.
got the cougar.
Go,
Oh.
Ghiga.
That's the
Comment.
other problem.
What the hell was that?
I need the next flare gun. I shot him in the ass. He's gone.
Why is there so many goats? There's so many goats. There's so many goats.
Goats want you to jump.
This is actually fun watching from over here because as soon as you get to that thing, yeah, it's gonna yeet your ass.
Well,
Hey, you made it. That's a great jump there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm able to get back with the board.
I am not where I want to be in life.
Fuck.
So, I don't know how I got here. There's a repair tool here, but can I just climb up this?
Okay, it's fine now.
No.
Nope. Oh, it's gone.
I thought
Oh,
my
it's
game was
gone.
gonna
You
crash
had to
again,
jump
but it
back.
seems to have fixed
The way you're,
itself.
yeah.
I didn't.
And then
the
hit-
way you came, I got launched by a goat. Oh, I'm dead.
Goat
Oh.
launcher.
Not exactly the way you came, but
Goat launcher.
should be over there. Did you
5000.
grab it? Yeah.
Are the goats? So...
I think you just walked underneath me.
Okay, I'm gonna need somebody else here.
Yeah, I tried to help. Unfortunately, I got goat launched. Goat launched. Jeez.
Loat gunched. What the hell is a loat gunch?
You know what it is.
Words are difficult.
Did you die, Ghiga?
Yes.
The goat just killed itself. You can come back safely.
Hey, I got a new achievement. Die 25 times.
Let's go.
Where did you die? Where you at?
Down below.
Oh, I see
Oh,
hear
crap.
that plank of wood sitting down there all by its lonesome. No, Ghiga. Oh, maybe I can get back
I am a
this
plank
way.
of wood.
There's a goat.
There's a
down
goat
there.
down
Oh,
here,
fuck.
though.
I thought it was enough.
There do be a goat down there, though.
Hey, what's that?
Oh.
I found a way
You
back,
You
Ghiga.
didn't rescue Ghiga while you were down there?
I was at the bottom of the. I wasn't down there. I was at up top.
Ah, crap. I was too hurt.
You,
Well, there's two bodies down here now.
Oh.
all right.
Okay, in our defense,
I was at
there
half
was,
health, so I
there was
wasn't sure.
legitimately like 27 goats.
No, there
So
was.
we're gonna
Oh,
call
yeah.
it
I
good.
don't see either of you. Am I fucking blind or what?
No
I'll be down
comment.
there in a
Oh,
second.
We'll run.
right.
Right
I
here,
see
you're
you.
right.
If I go over there, I'm gonna get goaded.
I'll go save you guys.
Don't we
alright.
want to be goaded, though?
No, not in that sense.
Sauce?
I don't.
That goat is
Oh.
watching
Oh, is there
over my
goggles?
body.
How do you get down there without
Oh.
dying? Oh, over there.
This whole time, I had the desktop audio off.
Oh no.
Nice.
This whole time.
You use.
Alright.
I am
desktop
sorry,
audio?
everyone.
Luckily, when
Oh,
I
I'm back
forgot.
up. What a time for the goat to try to kill me.
Yeah. Ghiga.
I'm leaving this. Leave me alone. There's a goat behind me. Ouch.
Luckily, nothing's really happened. So, Loat gone. Ah! I fell. What the heck?
Do I have to go save a third person?
You
I'm
nailed
not
the goat with
dead,
the.
I'm just
like a wood.
stuck. How do I get out of
It did nothing.
Were you stuck? How did you get stuck again? Why do you always get stuck?
I don't know. I fell in this crack, and now here I am. I smoked.
She's always be exploring them cracks. Ah, shit. I'm
Come
dead.
on, get up there. Ah.
What?
was
Did
that?
you just throw that at a goat?
No, I missed the jump. I fell and it just fell on my hand.
Did you die?
I died. I made the jump before.
Oh, thank you.
No, he
Red
gotta
is
go
dead.
get me. You gotta go get me, Ghiga.
I do. I have to.
Where you at?
Who else is there? Oh,
Yes,
at the bottom.
Ghiga,
Um,
I'm coming.
launched got it over.
I'm kind of
Gone
in
it
the middle.
over
You'll
there.
see me.
Hey, I fell. I have died. But the nitroglycerin did not blow up on me.
Oh, that's good.
F.
All right, I'm to the right.
Hey, here's the nitroglycerin.
You're where?
Beware the goats.
That way.
I
To
see
that. There you go.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da-da.
I bet.
Run.
All right.
Sorry.
Run.
Do you
Ah!
want to build a snowman?
Run.
Or
Do you want
murder
to
a
get
goat?
launched by a goat, man?
Woo.
I promise
I think you
it's
want to
fun.
launch by a goat, man.
Okay, we go here, and we go here.
Nice.
And we
You
go-
broke it to where it could actually
This.
lose the
The
smaller.
full path
little-
has been
Oh, I missed again.
cleared.
Fuck these goats.
No, don't fuck the
Fuck
goats.
this goat. What? What'd you do?
Not literally.
Oh, I died
please.
again.
You guys go
Giga,
back to
stop
the bottom.
dying.
Giga's gonna get all our
I'm sorry, I'm
Revives taken care of.
emo
Yeah, we're
Oh,
both down
no.
there. Can you go get on?
Oh my god, you're both dead down there?
Yeah. Okay. Shit happens. Okay.
Ah!
What?
I
Oh,
fell.
shit happens.
Famous Forrest Gump quote.
I know.
Wham
It
back.
happens. What shit?
Wham
It
back.
happens.
Wham back.
Did you also fall?
Pick me up. I'm stuck in the crack.
He's stuck in the crack.
Pick me up
Yeah.
before you go.
Is this a problem? I don't think this is a
Na-da-da-da-da,
problem. I don't
yo-yo.
feel like this is a problem.
Before you go.
Ow,
Broke my
I'm
legs.
going to die from the fall damage.
The goats.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm in the same place.
Wait,
I
I'm
died
alive
last
but
time.
dead again? Oh, there we go. I fully revived you.
no, I
stupid
picked
goat.
you up and then realized I meant to revive you.
There you
Got it.
Fine.
It's like I was moving, and then
we run.
and then-
Ah! No!
and then
What was that?
Did you
Chi?
just use me as a shield?
go. No.
Yes! Ow!
I was helping you get out of the hole.
I got hit by a goat! Now I'm half dead.
Sacrifices must be made sometimes.
sacrifices must
That's
be made
wild.
after we're trying to get back in the RV.
Oh my
Some
God.
of you might die, but that's a price I'm willing to pay.
I tried to
Okay,
come
Farquaad.
save you. Got stuck in that stupid crack.
Look, you and your cracks is your own business.
Listen, I didn't put it there.
Did science put it there?
Did science put it there?
Cheese is crack, and we're basically doing breaking ice.
Whoa. Fucking meth heads.
Cracking ice, dang.
Damn.
What are we doing again? Driving an RV?
Disclaimer:
Really?
for all intents and purposes, these are mostly jokes.
Right.
Only mostly
Yes.
jokes.
We do know that this won't save us from being put on any type of list.
ChiiFett and Sector 313 do not condone the use of drugs.
But they are good. I'm just
Yeah, Red Hoodie and the Fox want to do all of it.
Unseen
Yeah,
actress that
damn
doesn't
it.
happen
Oh,
whenever.
Red on the run, my ass.
Ew, shut your little kitty mouth. We did it.
We did
Oh, it gets
it.
worse.
Yay!
This is where Red's gonna
Oh,
have to
crap,
do
I
some
fell.
real mountain climbing.
Oh, I'm good at that.
You know that
I'm
spot,
good enough
Chi,
to
you
keep
kept
on
falling
doing
through? I just did it.
Aw, see, you should have gotten the
Are
RV
you
like a
stuck?
good
that.
kitty.
Do we need to get you?
No, I'm fine. I know how to get myself unstuck.
Oh, what is that supposed to
Damn.
mean?
Punch his dick.
Some people need help around here. Other people can get out by themselves. Although,
Oh.
Chi, I think you actually rate in the
Well,
taller
now,
of the
get
people.
back to the
so-
RV is another question because
That's
Red's still
true.
driving.
Well,
That's true. I
let me
think
tell
I'm
you what
the
happens
tallest.
here, Red. I'm
Let me
taller
hop
than you.
out and look at what happens here. Look at that.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It
Look
turns
at
to
me.
the right,
Oh,
and then
what the
it
fuck?
goes here,
That can't be right.
and then
What?
it drives over here.
That can't be right.
Where
Look at
else
that.
do you think we're supposed to go, Mr. Red?
I'm gonna look at the map.
Mr. Hoodie?
Hey,
That should
there's
go
another.
Are we
first.
supposed to go all the way down?
There's another gondola over there.
Yeah, can we just use the gondola,
go to
or
the
can we, I don't know, winch one end,
Wait, are we
then
supposed to be
gondola?
slide
going
down and winch the other end?
It's the gondola. Wait, that. Look at the
Yeah,
gondola.
let's just
for
use
me.
the gondola.
Where's the gondola?
Down there.
It's right over here to the right. Do you see it?
Yeah,
We got to
no,
get through this first part.
Oh, okay.
See it
I
over
see
there?
it. I see a broken.
I don't think it goes down though. I think it goes further that back the way we
I think
came.
it
I
goes.
I don't even know where we're going.
No.
I'm just gonna.
don't even
go
see it moving.
see.
That's wood.
It's
Yeah, I
not
don't
moving.
think it is moving.
Can we go?
There's some
What if
wood
we go
down
left?
there.
It looks like there's a ramp for the to go into the gondola.
So there's a bunch of wood over here,
I'm
and
not
looks
dead
like
yet.
maybe some scrap. Should we go get it?
Hold on. I'm kind of examining to the
I don't know how
left.
we're gonna get. For one thing, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to winch it.
Yeah,
It's a
We're gonna have
bunch.
to winch it from this
Yeah.
going down this wall.
we got 4 winches, or I could just be goaded.
Oh, you think you
YOLO
can
it.
be goaded without it exploding?
Or we could just,
Okay.
or we could just full tilt gas pedal.
Well, that's what he means.
I know.
I have to see if this gondola works at all when someone gets in it or not.
What
There
is
is a
that?
button.
Yeah,
There is a
look-
button in this gondola.
Press it.
There's the-
Let's see what happens.
Oh, hey, Chi.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I can't because I apparently fell
uh,
through snow and died.
Excuse
Oh.
me.
Can you what?
Excuse me.
Oh shit. My bad.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me.
Oh, how do I get up here? What the fuck? Ah!
So if we go to the right, if we went to the
Okay,
right
well-
instead of doing that, what we did before, there's there's an ice
Red.
wall to blow up here.
Red. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
I am slowly trying to inch my way through.
Okay. Well,
Can't reach the winch. There we go.
Ah,
Now I
got
can.
through.
I just wanted. I'm more worried about getting into the winch poles.
I can't. Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
any pegs, do we?
Hold on. I can reach them. There we are. Are you trying to go grab the one behind? I gotta go forward.
I can't get to the forward one because the rock's in the way. Can I?
Oh, you're already upside down?
No.
I got it to the lower part with taking no damage. I don't want to hear it.
Excuse me, he's not upside down. He's sideways.
Oh, you're right.
Stinky.
Sideways. My bad. I see the tires.
I can't get over anywhere. You are right
That
now. I'm
that
stuck.
fixes everything.
I'm stuck over here. I can't get over there.
Okay. Hi.
I'm under the snow.
Oh, you're not gonna like this. When we get closer to the gondola, the snow clouds come in and push things.
That's Wambat's fighting
it's
just to
actually like
stay
that over here
standing
right
on the
now.
edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Where
the
are you,
weather
Ghiga?
just changes randomly. I'm at the bottom of that gondola, buried in the snow ahead of you.
Let me see if I can get over there.
Oh no.
Might
Oh,
have to
that is a
continue
drop.
down the
It's
right.
just dragging
Yeah.
it sideways. It's not tipping it back.
Look.
over.
It's not taking damage. I'm okay with this.
All right. As long as you're okay with it.
Oh shit. I didn't want it to take that sudden of a turn. How do I
How do
stand
we-
up?
So are we supposed to go this way with the gondola?
How is
Or
it
are we
supposed
supposed
to
to
I
go
go
think
further
so.
on
There's a
down?
button. So if you look, there's my body to your left,
Drives.
in the
I
deep
see ya.
snow.
How are we
I'm
supposed to
giggling.
flip it back over?
I'm alive.
Isn't there a push button?
I'm alive.
There's a flip on top of the.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there
Thing.
is the flip thing. I don't know if I can reach the flip thing though.
Aha.
Let me in. Let me in.
Gee, can you?
Oh,
hold
Bye. See
Wambat's
ya.
left us.
Can I what?
I'm assuming we're supposed to
hold me
attach the RV to that and go
hug very
across.
close to the RV so I can pick up the flippy thing?
Tell me if there's a
Oh my
checkpoint over
God,
here.
this
Pick it
is
up while
moving
I'm
slow.
holding you?
Yep.
Actually, throw me on top. That's way safer.
Yeah.
Or on the side, whatever this isn't.
When I get all the way to, can I stop it and go the other way?
I no idea.
Yes. So the button just goes either which
That's
way.
all.
So you hit it once, it'll go one way. Hit it twice, it'll go the other way. Or not. Just hit it again to hit it.
Can
go
you
the
reach
other way.
it?
I grabbed it and then I put it back down because I was spamming it. I got it.
Around the hall. Company.
Oh, I got the
This
light
is
one.
going to be literally, if we can get it here and get it hooked up, this is going to be the slowest damn ride
Um,
possible.
I mean,
Okay.
that kind of did exactly what
Why
I
is
wanted
it
it to do.
moving?
Oh, because I didn't put the brakes on.
It's just rolling away.
Yeah, it was just slowly rolling. Okay, here. Hit.
I am like
How do
an
I-
inch away from death right now.
I can't.
Farther back.
Oh, there we go. Now I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, don't be an inch away from
Wanna
death.
come in?
Where are you? Are you down
Oh,
here?
I'm at the very bottom of the
Ah,
hill.
oh, no!
I just seen if
Oh no,
there's
I
anything.
got blown away!
Oh, we're gonna have to.
I'm gonna
catch you
catch
here in a
the
second.
RV when it falls.
Nope.
Hey.
Go ahead and go for now, Red, because I can't get in. Oh, wait.
I
maybe
see the RV. I'm just
Hey,
gonna
I-
stand down here and
I
catch
got
it.
this shit.
Ah! Well,
Here it comes.
Got it.
Oh, no, that's
I
just
have all the
annoying.
parts. All the parts and pieces.
oh, I'm dead. I died. I'm under the RV.
Like
I broke
under
my
the
ankle.
RV?
I'm under the RV.
Or-
I broke my ankle.
Did
We're
you
ready,
fall
ready.
and then roll underneath it?
I
That's
did,
hilarious.
yes.
I don't see
I wasn't
it.
underneath it originally.
Mm-mm.
I'm just waiting for the RV to come down on top of my head.
Oh, you at the bottom of that hole?
I'm at the bottom of the mountain, yeah.
Oh God. Oh, I think I
Well,
saw.
I
this is
can
where we
get out of
figure
this.
you're gonna fall all the way down, Red.
What?
I'm between the
No.
RV and the wall.
Oh, Chi?
Oh, yeah, you are. Huh.
Hi.
Perfect. I need another.
I don't
picture.
think we can get back to you. I don't think that's
And then there's no way
possible
we
at
can
this
get back
time.
up there.
It's okay.
You're
Everything
close,
is-
Red.
Okay.
Close in a very concerning manner,
What do you
but
want
close
me to do, Red?
nevertheless.
I don't know.
Cry?
You want to
My
be in charge of Switchy?
The remote?
Chi be like, no.
Yeah. Wait.
Oh.
Oh.
You got the remote.
Yeah, I was grabbing it for you. I didn't realize you got back over.
That's it.
I'm pretty sure once you get to here, you're pretty
Yeah,
much.
I'm gonna put it here so it doesn't slide into a hole.
safe.
Shut up.
Well,
Dude, that
Alright,
video
you can
got like
pull-
2K views.
Why that one?
I don't know.
What the hell?
why sliding down the hole?
Degeneracy cells.
You can
It
pull.
wasn't even degenerate. It was just the remote sliding down into the hole.
Pull me.
My plunger one
Oh,
today
okay.
only got like 1K, I think, on YouTube.
Hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, better
I
than the
was gonna
content
finish
I've
that sentence.
put
Actually,
out.
my Facebook
Which
and my
is none.
Instagram have been popping off
alright.
lately, which is kind of
Stop.
crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, aren't you doing
Yeah.
something tomorrow, Giga?
I have. So I do have a
Um,
stream tomorrow, and then I
careful.
have a
Whoa,
Splitgate
whoa,
collab
why is it
type
going
thing to
backwards?
do.
Ah,
Because
So a couple of things.
you're on the very edge.
I
of the...
still never.
Oh,
I meant to do that recording. I never did it.
Oh,
Gee, what's-
that's fine. I
you-
got
what side of the RV are you on?
cheeses like
say what?
a day ago. Then Fee's getting
I
her
was gonna
sent
ask if
over
you
to
could
me.
push me because I'm.
So,
I just
yeah.
need to go a
So,
little.
so if I
know-
do it tonight, we should be okay.
How do I push
It's a
stuff again?
no pressure situation. Just whenever you get around to it, we'll get you rolled in.
Okay.
So, when are
Still
you guys
in
gonna
the-
play Overwatch with me, huh?
What
Never.
was that, Red?
When are you gonna play Overwatch with me?
I'd rather eat a brick.
It's so much fun.
Whenever I get around to reinstalling it.
Never.
Hey guys, I told you I could get
Why
it.
is this thing just floating in the air? Okay.
You asked too many questions.
Hey, Red. How about you play? How do you play Marvel Rivals with me then?
Because I don't want to be surrounded by that many people that say the N word.
Damn.
I have a set of group we
Naturally.
can do, and it won't have that problem. And they like playing the versus AI anyway, so it's not like the AI is going to just start dropping the N bomb.
Well, you never know these
Well, I
days.
see that.
I would just say don't
you
use
got one of
grok.
That's not right.
Just don't use.
It's a
Grok.
weapon that Ease uses.
Here, Giga, can you just yeet me?
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
Chinese version of Grok in ChatGPT?
Deep
No, wait,
wave or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's
No,
what we would
I
have to
want it
worry
I
about.
want it to be below it. I want to attach it below.
Oh, I ran out of scrap, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if you attach it, should not attach it. There you go.
I don't trust that. I feel like it's going to try to go through it, you know?
It's fine.
Well, come down here,
Hold on.
Rhett.
I just gamered it. I didn't care anymore.
Just let me know if everyone's on the bus.
Hey,
Here
already
to press
hit.
a button.
Release me. All right, hold on.
release me.
All right.
We don't want to get it from both sides.
Huh?
No,
I think just hanging it will be fine.
fine.
Yeah.
We ready?
Okay, well, let me get my slow ass in here. Okay.
All right. That. Remember to sit down, or this will not be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, you will not survive this.
Hey, let me open a window.
Got it.
We ready?
No, because I need to sit in not the driver's seat. Okay.
We all
Ready.
ready? Final warning. 3, 2, 1. Whee!
Whoa, we going.
Hey, Friday, how's it going?
Oh my god.
So
Here we
Ah!
go.
Ah!
Like I said,
As
this
I
is
just
probably the
watched-
slowest ride possible.
Oh, God, don't look down.
my view's wonderful from up here. I don't know what you're all seeing.
I can
I could
see.
be absolutely horrible. I could just pause the ride
If
and
I
then we'd
spin,
just be
it's
stuck
only gonna go in the way that's
in
at.
the.
Yeah, you just go right back the other way. You just hit the
Ghiga.
button again and it starts going backwards.
Yeah.
I can see your undercarriage.
No. Dirty.
I have no comment to that.
I can
It's
see
like
up Red's
lips
nose
or-
right now.
Don't make me pause this ride. Don't make me stop this car.
Don't make me
Please
turn
don't,
this
'cause who knows
car
if we can
around.
restart it.
Yeah, I
Do you
have
see
a
how
button up
slow
here
this
that
ride
will
is
stop
going?
it.
I wouldn't stop it.
What if I just like?
No, Red. Now we're gonna start
That's
swinging.
awesome. Oh my god! Wait.
We're gonna have to put like warnings on our streams that you might puke.
Motion sickness warning.
Yeah,
Have you seen this? Why are you so
don't
close?
Do that!
Red, stop.
You're gonna break it.
That'd be an interesting mechanic. Too much stress and the winch breaks.
A real that around here is goats. It's true.
It's there.
And
I'm not
also
gonna do it
red.
again. I'm not gonna do it again. What?
You
That's
heard
it.
me. Ice.
Oh, you're getting ready to get a drink. What type of drink are you gonna get, Red?
Oh god, we're close to a mountain.
Hey,
Oh
what
my
type
god.
of drink are you gonna get?
I said what I said.
Red.
What do you mean what drink?
What?
What?
No, chat. I'm responding to chat.
Oh.
Oh. I thought you said
Oh.
Why are you planning on getting a drink,
I thought you
Red?
said red.
Yeah,
I
we
was
all
like,
heard
what do you
red.
mean? We all
You said
heard
red.
red.
Did you say red on
I
accident?
said Red, then Friday, then Red.
Oh.
You can't blame us.
Yeah, I know. My brains don't work so great. It's Friday.
Smooth brain.
Friday night.
Are we there yet?
And
Do we
not
get
the
off
person in my
now?
chat named
What's
Friday.
gonna happen?
It's just
No.
Friday.
Like,
The day.
I mean, technically, you might be able to get down. I wouldn't unhook it. I'd see how low you could go.
Up for
But
yeah, I'm gonna reverse
time.
down. I ain't gonna like release. That's dangerous right now. That's the floor below us.
Yep.
Name was
Oh,
the
I like how
dog.
we're slowly rotating around.
Are we
It's
still
going to be upside down by the time we get there.
Yeah, when we get there, we're going to be upside down. Or at least we'll be backwards.
Probably water. Aw.
I just want to like.
I
see-
have Dr. Pepper.
Oh, come on. It's Friday.
I finished my soda and I'm sad.
I
Have
need
cream
to clean
soda,
my
Dr. Pepper.
icy machine so I can use it again.
Icy machine.
Yeah, I have an icy
the-
machine.
It's like the
for
ninja one.
slushies?
For slushies, milkshakes, cocktails, everything.
Is it a ninja one, like Giga said?
No, it was on sale, but it works really
Wait a
good
minute,
too.
what-
It's
Ghiga,
also refrigerated.
Are we supposed to get off at some point? Oh, we're here.
Oh,
We're here. Thank you for riding Giga.
Okay.
Yeah,
Express.
can you? Yeah, just
Slow
bring
express?
us slowly down.
Down?
So-
I think we want to go up, don't we? Oh, no,
No.
I see.
No,
We'll
we
go
want
down.
down.
There's a bunch of
like,
scrap down
on-
here. Cool.
Well, because expect people to kill the vehicle, and yet somehow I got it pretty safe.
Oh, I'm dead.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
great.
Like,
Good job,
one
Red.
job.
How did you
Leave
die?
without me, my. I only had like 5% health left, and I hit a rock too hard.
Where are
Where are
you?
you?
Oh, I'm right there with you.
I'm like
I
at
touched
the
and I
bottom.
died.
Like, hi. I just get stabbed.
Where?
You don't need to carry me away. William's like, you're not walking on your
Yeah,
own
hold-
anymore.
hold
You
on,
clearly
To your
died.
death.
Hold on tight to the silly
We don't
gooses.
have any more revives.
Send me. I broke through the
Are we out
ground.
of revives?
I broke through the ground. I'm under the ground. I have died. I am
Oh.
glitching through the floor. Country road. I was safer on my own. There we go. Okay.
I don't have a way to revive him, but we got his ass.
I found food.
I was safer on my own.
Anybody want
How
some?
did I know the game was going to glitch
Does
out?
anybody need a can of nuggets? I found some.
I kind of do.
Yes, I have like 5% health
All right,
left.
that's it. Rock, paper, scissors. You ready? Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just eat it.
I looked up at the sky and all I saw was the rocks and the
Wait a minute, it's
skybox.
like, fuck you, I'm just gonna eat it. God damn it, I can't get up there.
What are you doing? No, you're not going to waste it. Stop.
were those nuggets worth it, Wimbat? Were they
Yes,
delicious,
they were.
Wimbat?
They were absolutely worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
I'd buy Wimbat.
How do I put the ladder on? Where's the ladder at?
It's not there because it's broken.
What
Yeah,
are
but
you
how do
doing?
I put it back on? Oh, there it is.
It's that
There
whole
we go.
panel.
Yeah, grab you as you threw me.
What are you two
I was
doing?
just trying to get you here faster. That's all I was trying to do.
Now you're probably glitched into the drive.
Yeah, you almost glitched me too. Wimbat's just killing half.
Oh, I ran out of scrap again. Well, I fixed some of it.
In the
Is that
name of
scrap over
healing,
there?
Santa
What's
Claus
that?
is dead.
Was there more?
Throwing me in the toilet.
Oh, there was one
Wow.
more.
Yeah, just in case you swing so you don't just fall out. Yeah, the window's down.
My
Push
butt
out
is
there.
just sticking through the wall.
But
Well, I just making sure you don't fall out while we're driving.
hold on.
What happened?
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
How did I pick you up, Chi?
I don't know.
From all the way over there.
Sit down, Chi. Stop moving. This map is cursed.
It really is. At least my game stopped crashing.
We made sure we
Hey,
fixed
there's a
all the
checkpoint up there.
the bugs on the first map. We don't have to do that on the second, right?
There's a garage up
It's only
here.
$8.
We can revive Ghiga.
Oh, look. I can be alive again.
It's true.
Live again.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a
Checkpoint
checkpoint. No, I mean
4.
achievement.
0.05% of players have this achievement.
That's crazy.
That's how many people.
Probably because they
Point-
didn't want to go through the
point-
first part of that goal.
0.5% of people.
This hat looks like a condom.
Crap.
That is.
Have you seen what we've had to do, Ghiga?
That is half of 1%.
I'm not
Oh, hey,
surprised. It's
Nobody's
0.5
acknowledging.
may be too high.
Nobody's acknowledging my comment.
I'm sorry. What was
Oh.
that? No,
No,
Chi?
it's okay. You don't have to.
Where's our flipper? Did we?
What was the comment,
the one
Chi?
thing-
You don't want to know.
What's the comment,
Why is
Chi?
there lotion
We
here?
do want to know.
You know why there's lotion. Man.
You're right. We didn't need to know.
It just squirted everywhere.
You just
Okay.
squirted everywhere.
Look, there's more lotion. Look, right here.
Somebody took the lotion away from Chi. She's being weird again.
You want some lotion?
Well, a
No.
lotion, it puts the lotion on the skin or it gets the hose again.
Here you go. You can have it. Right there.
Or in this case, the welding hose.
I don't want to know about your hose.
Hey, there's chains
I
here.
don't know. Tell me if this hurt, Fred.
I'm
No,
just
it
gonna
doesn't
take
do
my
anything.
vodka and
It
go.
hurt. Yeah.
Okay.
No, okay.
The vodka. It's got the vodka.
Ah, no, it's fine. Oh, it doesn't? It does.
Like-
Very, very slightly.
I got me vodka and I am walking. And puffing my cigarette.
Curiosity versus regret. Wait, what am I regretting?
No regrets.
No regrets.
Okay. But,
No regrets.
yeah, let's see over there. Hi, Chi.
Hi, I have chains. Want some?
Yeah.
One.
I think the curiosity versus regret was regret.
problem.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Regret. Regret. I'm done.
Regrets.
Regret was like, oh, no one heard what I said. What did you say? Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Them going, what was the comment? And then lotion. And then... Yeah.
This is a pretty straight up path up the mountain next, so pretty easy for the first little blip.
No, my comment was there was a hat back there and it kind of looked like a condom.
Where's Ghiga?
I'm
Ahead of
walking
us.
up the path. I'm
Oh, you're
scouting.
They
scouting.
ignored me
Got it.
again.
No, I heard that one too.
Yeah. No, we heard that one.
Nobody said anything.
Yeah, we know.
God damn it. You guys are the worst.
No, you're talking about condoms.
Or
You're
the
the-
best.
You're a condom.
Oh,
You're a condom.
You're a towel.
You
Okay,
want
this
to get
next
out?
little bit, outside of some like smooth,
Ba,
smooth.
ba, ba, ba.
That's better than
should
the
be
lotion.
pretty easy. I think this next little next
Oh.
little bit's
hold
pretty
on.
straightforward.
Down.
Next little blitz.
Ooh, there's no snow anymore. Where'd the snow go?
Hey, yo,
Hold
where
on.
the
Not
snow
long
go?
enough.
Oh no, global warming. I found it.
Oh, hey, look, a grill with stuff.
Is there meat?
As fuel.
A revive.
Oh, we're gonna need that.
Yeah, we're back up to 3 revives. Look at that.
Nice. I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Oh, that was boring.
Yeah, Giga can expedite his resurrection 3 times.
Although honestly, this
Beep,
next
beep.
little bit is
Beep, beep.
looking pretty smooth.
What? Wait. Oh.
Okay, this
I don't
might
like
get a
that you
little
can't
dicey at this
see.
point.
Yeah. Oh, it's
When
so
you get
good.
close to the edges, it's like, oh, are we gonna fall? What's gonna happen?
Oh, what's going to happen? It's going to get you. It's going to
I'm gonna get you.
get you.
It's the claw.
That claw.
It's coming for you.
That was an amazing voice zoo game, and what you did. It was awesome.
I'm gonna see.
What was that explosion? Oh, we've got
That didn't do it. Oh,
I might have that section of that stream edited
Oh, nice.
for
Section.
YouTube. I had
I don't know how this works. It looks like we're gonna have to like legitimately build a bridge,
Oh,
and
we
someone's
gotta
gonna have to
build
like.
a bridge.
Oh, we
Let's
have to
go.
nail each
Yes.
one.
That sounds about right.
I found
I mean,
vodka.
I feel like we could just probably go around, but this.
What
seems more
happens if
fun.
I drink this? Will I get all wooey?
You get its beer equivalents.
I get
Hey.
strong.
Mm.
I
Get
don't.
ready to nail me.
Strong.
Wait a
Strong.
minute.
I'll just bring lumber closer. I don't.
Wait.
I'm ready for when you drop it.
All right, I'll drop on this one. You ready? Nail me.
Oh.
Your body got in the way.
I couldn't move any faster. All right,
You should
we'll
have
go
took a drag before you did it.
Oh no!
Playing teeter totter by yourself over there.
You're gonna fall.
forgot to put down the nail gun.
This
Did
is
you
a little
drop it?
farther.
No, here's the nail gun. I'm
Oh,
gonna grab the 2 planks that are down here.
Where's the nail gun?
Oh,
I
well.
got it.
Okay.
Right there at the
good
bridge.
catch. Why did it do
Yeah.
that?
Where's the nail gun? Can somebody nail me?
Don't see the nail gun.
It's right there at the bridge.
Right here next to you. Where'd it go? Where did it go? It was literally thrown right here. Did it slide
Yeah,
back
no,
down?
I think it slid down the hill to
Slid
the
down.
bottom.
I think I see it.
Yes, it is
Uh,
down at the bottom now.
Well,
Yeah,
lucky
but-
for you guys, there's one right here on the RV.
Yeah, but I got the one down here. We need more nails anyway.
Should this be pushed out more?
Well, you're
Oh, look,
playing
it's the
teeter totter, and we
part
have
of
a
the
ton of
binky.
like lumber.
Oh.
Oh, go back,
Nope.
go back.
Grab it. Grab it.
Oh.
Grab it.
Crunchyroll.
Why do you just ride it?
Some of us aren't here for a long time. We're just here for a good time.
I need you to focus on nailing it.
Okay.
Just so it's clear, that phrasing will not stop.
Yes. Oh shit, I missed.
Okay. It's okay. It was back up a little.
I can't
It's,
see because your body.
Okay,
Oh,
let's just
yeah.
drive around and
I
call
kinda
it
Okay, this is
good.
not gonna work like this.
Oh shit, I missed!
How many?
Chief. Chief. I need you.
It
I need you to
starts
nail
moving
me,
when I click it, and then it misses. Okay, I wasn't ready that time.
Chief. I think the nail is just in the area.
I did it.
That was a
Oh my
good
gosh,
shot.
How much of this do we have to actually make?
So stand right there.
No,
hey,
we just go to here. It'll be fine.
Chi,
What?
stand at the edge right there. I'm gonna drop this, and then do you see like you can
Yeah, I'm ready.
put it down?
I'm ready.
Ready and go.
You do realize it's only halfway.
What the hell?
Why is it
It
sticking
made
straight
a
up?
ramp.
Guys, I don't think that one's gonna work.
More
To
than
be
one
honest,
way. More than
I
one
don't-
way.
I don't think this is gonna work.
I don't know if we can get the other one. Oh shit!
This is definite. Oh, hi, Wambat.
Right off the platform.
Sorry, wait a minute. I couldn't resist myself.
Oh, we should have had like
No,
the in-game voice chat so you can hear me like go away as I fall to my death.
Nope. Gee, I need.
Tell me when. You ready now?
Yeah.
It's not sticking
Yeah,
out
just-
very far.
Don't.
It's fine.
This is good.
Is that my body I'm just next to? No, that's Ghiga.
Yeah, I'm also down here.
Oh, are you both dead?
Yeah, they're both.
We're
Yeah.
both down here and
Oh.
need a revive,
Oh.
please.
Noted
Oh.
at this
Sorry.
point, I say we just drive
Okay, I'm
around.
ready.
You're right. You can just drive off the left
Take
side.
a route.
That one's not gonna work.
Yeah, you just drive off the left side there, and it just
Yeah, you do. Just
caters
drive
them
off
back
the left
up.
side. All right,
I
hold
don't
on.
know. I liked it where we got it to look like a ramp, and we should have just ramped the shit.
Let me tell you,
out
it's
of
still a
the
ramp.
RP.
Yeah, it's still a ramp. It will be always a ramp. Where'd you go, Red?
I
He went down here to revive us.
Nice.
Oh. Sorry, Wambat.
No, you're all good.
It was too funny. I couldn't help it.
I'm dropping to my dad.
I was like, if I just remove this nail right now.
Oh, so it was intrusive thoughts. That's what happened.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
I get that son of a bitch back.
That's for all the times that fucker hit me in Party Animals.
Yeah, it's always after me. It's other people. I'm gonna show that son of a bitch who's boss.
Yeah, damn it, fucker.
Fucker.
Yeah, damn it. Yeah. Whoa, he's over there.
Name.
Whoa.
You guys
Red,
coming?
don't leave me. Wait, I can't jump over there.
Are you kidding me? We just had to drive around. We did all
Yeah,
this
for the whole
nothing.
time. Yeah, did you not notice that?
Can I make
Oh, the whole
this
time.
jump? I don't think I can.
No, we're not.
I'll catch you. Just get close.
All right,
I'll
ready?
catch you.
Ah!
Oh, what's out of there? There's
Oh.
he looks away.
Red! Ow!
Get in there.
Thank you.
How's it feel? No.
Not very good.
I hear
Not very
a
good at all.
snake. It's a snake.
Oh, there's snakes now?
Oh, you just slammed me into
I think the
window.
snake is further down.
I love how we were worried about
Right.
the nail gun when we have like 4 on the RV.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
What's it look like over there?
Oh, that's Ghiga. I
Can
thought it was a
scratch.
chicken.
Oh shoot!
I love it. Made a almost a whole bridge.
You forgot
No,
the
we're
Oh,
not.
geyser,
there's a
dude.
geyser!
Yeah,
Did you
geysers.
see that?
It's like we're in Yellowstone.
Ah, it's a geyser!
Okay, guys.
Oh, that
didn't help.
Fucked us all
Well, thank
up.
goodness I picked up scrap.
Okay, I don't know who made this bridge.
It's too
but
wide.
Not that wide. It's a skinny girl.
She's a skinny
Technically,
girl.
it was already there.
Oh,
Oh.
hold on.
Oh.
Oh, that's the
That's
downside.
Oh.
We might need that nail gun back. We might
that
need
nail
to
gun. You gotta go
lock
fast.
them into place.
Definitely need to lock this in
Um,
place.
Giga, I don't know. That's good. Oh, hurts.
If you stand on it, does it not launch the boards?
know.
It didn't, no.
Just nail it.
Oh.
All right, here's the other one. All right. Anything past this?
I
Another
hear
chasm.
Do we have
I
more
hear a
wood lying
safety
around?
rope.
Any
A
more wood?
danger
I don't see any
noodle?
more wood.
A danger noodle, yes.
Do I
No,
just
think,
book it?
I think it's just the geyser.
No, there's no way you're crossing that second
I-
one.
No,
don't think.
I hear the rattle of a danger noodle.
I think it's down here below somewhere.
What?
The rattlesnake.
Oh, fuck that snake.
Don't fuck the snake.
Fuck that snake!
I am not going to be anywhere near that steak.
Steak.
Snake.
I like steak.
Steak.
I want steak.
Red.
What did you do?
I just see doors and panels and everything just
We
blinding.
need a hook. I'm stuck. We need a hook. Panic. Panic.
Oh god!
Not that.
I got it! Okay. You're connected to the end of the bridge. Okay, stop!
Well, we learned something. I'll give it a sec. It'll be fine. The geyser will get it up there.
Oh shit.
Trying to see if there's any additional lumber out
Well,
here.
We're not
I think there's a
moving,
geyser.
we're moving again. Geyser.
Oh,
Well-
that didn't look good. That didn't look good. I think the moral of the story is I'm going to grab a bunch of the lumber from the previous obstacle and bring it
I like
with
that.
us.
I like
You
that.
literally,
Good idea.
the RV literally fell on me. I was like half dead, and then the RV
Oh,
landed
I need to
on me.
die again. Yeah, I need to die again.
Yeah,
throw
it's
me up into the
RV
air,
there
somebody.
yet, not RV land on me.
Someone throw me up in the sky so I can die.
We should leave the puns to pun.
No shit.
Don't leave the puns to pun. Whee! Face plant. Don't
Yeah,
use
you
that.
miss.
Don't use that, Wambat. We're here.
Oh, they're God.
Oh, is there?
Darn it.
Yeah, there's a revive. There's a revive station.
I didn't see it in front of me. That was my bad.
I got you this. Oh.
Country road.
Oh my gosh.
Take
Silly
me
goose.
Look, this is the hat I was talking about. Look at
to
it.
the place where I belong. Yes, I'm doing Country Road to a different tune. Does it count? It's fine.
Yeah, isn't that
We're
like
doing Country Road to Titanic. It's
the
fine.
Titanic song?
Wait, don't leave me! Red, don't leave me! No!
Catch me. Oh,
I've been left
wow.
behind!
I'm at 5. I'm zooming.
I'm like Kevin in Home Alone! You forgot me!
Kevin got it lucky. Only my parents would leave me home alone. Wait, I don't have to worry about that. I have my own house. I get to be home alone. What are you talking about? I'm always home alone.
I like being home alone sometimes.
Look right up at top of the world.
I
I'm
just
king
love
of the
you,
world!
guys.
Woohoo!
And
Oh, what the hell? Where'd you come from?
wait to be king.
Where did you come from? I didn't know you were here. Oh shit.
You got
Okay.
this, Jay.
No, that
Alright.
song's a banger, Giga.
We have time to catch up.
What?
All the
Lion King?
Yeah, all the Lion King songs
Yeah.
are so good. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Everybody
that's
look
good.
left.
No, like
Everybody look right. Everywhere you look,
Hi.
I'm standing spotlight.
Spotlight.
I don't know enough of them. The only
I-
like Disney
I
song
don't
I
either.
know halfway well is "I Can Show You the World."
I can
That's
show
about-
you the world.
I know the intro song to that.
Shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess. Now
I was
when
obsessed.
did you last let your heart
I was
decide?
obsessed with all those movies when I was a kid.
Yep.
I
That was
heard a-
growing up for me.
I heard a Pocahontas song on someone's stream earlier today, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I played that movie on repeat when I was a kid.
A whole new world. It's fine. We're going full set now.
A brand new type of point of view. I can't remember how that works now that I'm have to be put on the
No one
spot.
to tell us no. Oh, where
Where
to
to
go.
go? There it is, yeah. Or say we're only dreaming.
Oh, new world. Wow, that's so bad. I
Yeah,
should
now
not
you're
try
pushing higher.
singing this late at night.
I'm lost.
That voice, not
I'm not
singing.
even paying attention to where the hell we're going.
This
I am
way.
grabbing extra lumber from the previous obstacle to move it up because more wood is better. Sure, well, that's the phrase we'll
More
use.
wood.
You know it is.
More wood is good. Oh, I almost just ran off a cliff.
Yeah, all the wood's over here to the right.
Right.
I
Also
am
a danger
walking
noodle. I hear
so
it.
Far to supply this lumber.
Gee,
look,
why
you
did
didn't
you
blow
not
it
grab
up this time.
some wood?
I didn't see any.
What's right over there on the other side of the bridge?
Over where?
Well, if you go back up, it's going to be on your left side.
Too late. I'm
of
away.
that
I'm
of the
far
bridge
away
piece.
now.
Okay.
I'm going back to the bridge. I drop this lumber here and going back for more.
I've been running for like 10 minutes.
Fun.
What about, why don't you have wood?
RD doing karaoke.
Wait a minute. Where is your wood?
I'm not
Come on.
Wambat.
Like,
Oh.
where'd she?
My wood's in my hands.
I forgot wood.
I couldn't see it. I didn't see any, so I just kept going.
I always got wood. It's a
Just
medical
taking you
condition.
with me.
I've
Too
been
late.
running for like 20 minutes.
I went really far. Really
I'm
You
out of
did.
breath,
You left
Aria.
me.
It
You
was
left
really
me
funny,
behind.
I do it again.
When I turn around, do I turn around for you or no?
No.
Will I see my butt?
Yeah, pretty much.
No plungers, please.
Well, let me tell you, slaps ass.
Somebody commented on the video. They were like, the fact that the big end went in and then got stuck.
Giga, now I've got like
Yeah, boy.
Aladdin stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
I can't
Yeah.
see
That's
now.
a snake.
In front of the
That's a
headband.
snake. We're retreating. That's a snake.
Oh, danger noodle.
Follow
Just
me,
a
fellow
little
William.
snack, guys.
We really only need to
Sorry.
bring like 2 plates, you know?
Yeah, I think we have
No,
enough
I
with
need
this.
I need Ghiga to help me record a cover.
Then it's got that lady goes in there. Even though I think he's rather tasty.
Oh, that was the Great Ali song.
Oh,
whatever.
you see that shit?
I've been trying to figure out like if I was to like do a cover. Problem is like this is one thing I've learned with all this audio stuff we've been doing all lately. I can't edit my own voice. Like I have no idea how to edit my own voice
I
because
mean,
like
that's fair.
yeah, like all your voices and stuff. Like okay, yeah, no, I got this. This sounds amazing. But it definitely goes back to the like that
Like,
psychology.
you
Like
lied.
you don't know what your voice actually
voice
ever sounds
does
like.
sound
So good luck trying to edit it.
That and
Yeah.
most people don't like the sound of their own voice, so it's probably
need to nail
hard.
that.
It's
to-
not my favorite.
Yeah, Wambat doesn't like my voice apparently either.
No, I mean my own, not yours.
That's
gonna
rude.
be-
He's like, it's not my favorite either.
See, you deserve
fine.
to follow.
No, I
that.
meant my own voice. I was
Nailed
agreeing
it.
with you.
Alright, get ready to nail this one fast. How the fuck is that?
I
Okay, you got
don't know.
it in the crack.
It works. It's there.
His board's getting.
I don't know if it's gonna work. This is. It's fine. Catch me,
What
please.
do we have enough
Come
like
on,
3
everybody.
boards
Yeah.
across?
Flying. He just went flying. Oh my god.
Oh no! Hey,
We're gonna nail
okay.
this.
If we can nail that one, thanks. Well, that's one place to put. Okay, perfect. Do we want to fix this one?
Nah, it's fine.
You can pull the nails out pretty
Yes, you
Nah,
can.
it's
easily.
just totally fine.
Yeah, let's fix it. Ah! Oh
Roger,
god!
wait, come to me, 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 come to me.
Ah! Thanks.
Nice.
No whammies, no whammies, no whammies, and stop! No.
Put it like closer.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Wait.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Nah.
Nice.
Oh,
That's not gonna
I suck at
Uh,
putting.
work.
Oh! Catch him.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's try this
Gotta
again.
catch
Okay, I'm
red.
ready. Oh.
Nope.
I should really not be
That's-
allowed to
that's
put
not
planks
gonna
down.
work.
No.
Oh shit. Well,
Got it. Alright. Go. Let's
Now.
go.
There we go.
Can we
check this
undo
one out.
that one.
Remove that
Yeah.
one. Oh, that could have fallen perfectly. Alright, hold on. Crooked. That's good enough.
These are
Oh, yeah.
indeed options.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
And then there's actually you guys are at the very end, so beware. We don't need a rock for it, but
Got it.
a
Alright.
plank, a
Sorry,
rock.
I'm trying
A
not to
rock.
cough.
A rock.
a rock is what.
Yes.
Wait, I'm trying to get in. Don't leave me. Okay.
Alright.
She's
Uh,
traumatized. She has
yeah,
had to
that's why
walk
I'm
for the
well worried
last
about the
10
next
minutes.
one.
Yes, I am. I have separation
stop.
anxiety now. Ah! No,
okay.
stop! Too late. Oh. Oh. Oh.
I can
Uh-oh.
show
You got-
you.
Oh!
Wait.
Oh shit! Where's
Oh,
that?
there's so
Hey,
much
we have
damage.
a problem. We have
I was able to get
major-
in real easy now.
You guys look like you're pretty messed up down.
Ah!
Whoa, there goes the geyser.
That was the problem. That was the problem. Okay.
Who didn't nail that board down?
Oh. Okay.
Hey, we survived,
you're
and so
dead.
did the RV.
I'm scared.
That's-
I'm in the
is a
I'm in the
word.
RV still.
That can be used. Survival. I
Help.
wouldn't say thriving, but you have survived.
Oh yeah. Right.
Ah.
Alright.
Okay.
I'm gonna drop that.
Oh.
Where are you? Hold on.
Oh,
we can
I'm
attach
so confused.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, I'm not in the RV anymore.
Who's got a remote?
I have one now.
Pull either side. Just pull.
I need to get unstuck first. Hold on. Okay. Either side?
Yeah. Fine.
Oh, I'm
Is
being
this
carried.
a pit stop or just a building?
I didn't realize I was being carried.
You're welcome.
It's just a
Thank you.
building. Well, we now have 21 scrap.
Nice.
Well,
And
there is a revival
nothing
station.
went wrong.
Honestly, if we can just get out of that spot, you're good. Because, like, there's another revival station. I don't think this is a waypoint.
Do the back end so it turns the RV back around to the way where it needs to go.
Now the back one.
Yeah.
You moved the back one.
I did. Now do the back one, G.
The back one's not attached anymore.
No, it is. I just
No, it's
attached it.
attached. It's
It
just real
is?
close to the RV.
Yeah, reverse.
The world's whiting up for
There we are.
me.
Wait,
I call my
So why do we want to go
own.
backward?
it's
Oh,
just down this hill.
I can say.
Let's keep pulling.
We're almost there.
You're facing the wrong direction now.
I could turn around in the RV. I'm not worried about that. Just keep reversing.
what? What do you mean you could turn around? That's never happened.
Yeah, I can drive it. I just can't drive it over geysers, apparently.
In the early night.
I'm gonna ride it. All right.
At this
all right.
point, it feels like it's going to be easier to just drive through the crevice than try to cross that bridge.
There's a bridge.
There's a
The
crevice.
bridge that we blew up across. Yeah.
Oh,
Like drive. Oh, no. It does a pretty deep, steep drop
yeah.
there.
I
doesn't
thought
it? Never
about that
mind.
earlier.
We'd have to climb up that mountain.
Ooh. I used 100
is everyone
scrap,
in?
so I
I
got
didn't
it.
We're
gotta
walking now, Chi. We're walking now,
I
Chi.
kind of forgot to ask.
I'm running again.
Hey, that worked.
Getting my cardio.
Got your mirrors
for the
back
day.
on.
Hammer. Hammer, hammer, hammer.
Alright.
Hammer, 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 hammer. No. I don't even know what the hammer does. Hammer time.
That's a look at that some biscuit.
You can just put that up for now, Giga.
Man, I love beer.
And I miss you. And I need you. No.
I just want.
I just wonder if I would fall. Yeah.
Into
That's it.
the
Change
sky.
of scenery. Reach checkpoint 5.
Right when that happens, I
What is a
stop.
checkpoint? There's a death thingy here, but I already picked up all the scraps that was here. We should probably try to repair the thing.
Soda pop, my little soda pop.
We got nothing to repair with. We can just do fuel and tire.
Yeah,
Go up
there's
and
nothing to
down.
repair with outside of our usual.
Oh, there
give
is
me
a repair
oil.
thing over here,
so
guys.
we can grab.
Guys, I found it. You're
All
not
right,
gonna
pretty
like
much fixed
it.
the oil problem.
Guys, I found it.
Oh, where?
The
where's...
one lug nut that's coming
I found a thing to repair the RV. It's over here.
Yep, that tracks. Okay.
Oh,
The
okay.
question is how to get back with it. Getting there doesn't seem
oh.
too terrible.
One step at a time.
Holy
Or-
cow!
Are we doing karaoke, right?
Oh, you could walk that. All right, I'll go bring the RV up here. I guess. Is there anything else up here? There's a giant gold
See what you're
statue,
talking about.
guys.
What the
Guys,
heck?
there's a giant gold
Oh, we've got
statue.
eagles incoming.
Oh shit! Don't they grab you?
The burbs.
Yeah,
No,
these are the ones
he's
that
gonna
grab
get
you and
me!
drop you.
He's gonna
Go away, Burb.
Oh shit! I didn't
Oh,
even
hi,
see
Red.
him.
I'm
Or hear him.
hiding. I'm hiding in the trees. You can't get me.
Just trying to look ahead. Now I'm missing some more bones.
An eagle is a natural predator to a rabbit.
There's no. Okay, do we go down then? Because going up seems wild, but going down also seems.
Oh, I can throw the
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I can.
good driving.
Oh, I just messed it up though. Okay.
Do I have to go? Oh, is it right there? I'm pretty sure you can just walk up that wall, Ghiga. I'm not gonna lie. It looks-
I no.
Oh, well, if you waited 3 more seconds, never mind. I also fell. Fuck.
Someone revive my body from the way station we were just at?
That same.
I'm going.
I slipped. It was butter.
Okay. Wham bad.
I'm almost there, Chi.
Okay. I won't go there.
Yep.
Somebody put butter on that hill.
HD. Yeah.
Go, speed strats.
Oh, there's a bunch of scrap.
Grab me. You didn't speed strats.
Have you seen how I play games?
Oh, you're the split gate player. You should have some reaction time to do that.
Wow, look at that shiny gold statue. What is he pointing at? There's something good?
Probably the exit.
Whoa, that went so far. Oh, no. Oh, well, I'm definitely not going to pick it up.
I was trying to grab it. I grabbed red.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw it to the top of the. Oh, I'll just throw
That
it.
works.
Whee!
I
Oh.
hit E.
Grab it, Red.
I was
There you
definitely
go.
out of my range.
You got it.
Sure.
Hey, nice.
Definitely did not pick that up in time. I just want that to be very clear.
Well, someone's gonna have to revive me again.
I got you.
Wham!
Only issue is I don't know exactly where we go from here. It looks like there's 2 options. A fun one and an annoying ass one.
HD.
Is somebody reviving Ghiga?
Hey, there we go.
Oh, cool.
And my first thing to do upon my new life is to smoke a cigarette. You know, enjoy life.
That used to be me.
Smoke him and get him.
Here.
I mean, you just got
I
revived.
need
You
your
get fresh
professional
peppermins
opinion.
now.
I can toast these and why am I being carried? I'm gonna
Because
beat
you
you.
keep dying.
Or something. You gotta come with me.
I'm about to be chucked, aren't I?
So we have 2 options here. Let me throw a cigarette.
Okay.
We have this cool ramp option.
That's close enough.
But I don't know how
You don't need
possible
all of
that
it repaired,
is. And
just
then if
most
you
of
look down and to the right, I don't know if you can. There's what looks like an annoying ass way with a wait. You're gonna go down there and see if we can even get the RV that way. Does that sound cool? All right, go over there and go inspect.
Ouch, my legs.
I just noticed the
Oh,
golden
shit.
statue.
You go that way. You stay away
I
from
was
the
looking.
cliff. Don't worry.
Alright,
You can look. But I'll hold you.
Oh, I don't like this. Put me back.
How does it look?
I don't like it. Put me back.
I'll
Oh,
save you.
God. Oh, Jesus.
Hey, what about this?
I do it. You
Hey, where did the eagles go? They're
Okay.
not
Well,
coming back,
there are
they?
multiple. I don't know if there's a good way. Like you're going to be driving the RV
Is it?
off.
I mean, this is a
off
jump
these
ramp.
cliffs.
I don't think the ramping it is gonna go well, but we did just hit a checkpoint. I mean,
Yeah, we should just ramp
YOLO.
I
Yeah,
probably
Oh,
YOLO.
enough-
YOLO.
we could also, well, we could also get some of the wood and make the ramp extended.
No, it's too far
And
away.
jump
No,
it?
that's way too far at this point.
There's actually wood not too far away from that, just like to the
too
left.
far
Just
away.
yes.
No, like legitimately,
It's
like 30
so
feet to the left of
far.
the
He
ramp
sees it.
is
He can
more-
see it.
Miles away.
He sees it. He's just not going to do it.
There's some scrap
Yep.
over there on that thing.
Are you gonna just try to ramp it?
And some
Pretty
hats.
much. I gotta back up really slowly because it's really hard to reverse in this.
I'm going to
game.
at least get me a beer before we die.
All right. Oh, that's valid. I think I'm on the grave.
Do you want me to revive Ghiga first?
I'm not dead.
Oh,
He's just over there.
well then,
Over there. Over there.
I still think
see it right
extending the platform.
as fast as you can, Red,
Oh,
Whoa.
oh.
Look at this hit.
without damaging and knocking everything off first.
Well,
Anyway. We're on to 5 already.
This is.
I can't see it.
I
Wrong
can't see
spot.
it. That was
I
nowhere near the ramp.
I don't think you're not even close.
I couldn't see it.
Oh, we're not dead.
Well, we're not dead. You know what that means?
Ow.
Going the bottom
We
way.
can get back. We can totally get back up.
You can get back up and around, but is that
Oh, we could have
worth
just
it?
come. We could have just drove down here. What the fuck?
Yeah, getting forward past there is a little bit of a obstacle course, for sure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's why we were attempting the ramp first to see if we could make it. But as someone didn't even take the ramp.
I couldn't see.
Yeah.
It is really hard to see.
I'm gonna go look at this
around.
statue.
This is.
Well, then
yeah,
let's just
this-
restart it.
Yeah, I
this is
say restart.
actually Insane. What the fuck?
Because then we'll have all the scrap back.
That's true.
Oh wow, we did
Give
this
him
other
time,
stuff.
let him cook, and then totally whiff.
I couldn't see it. It was tough.
Oh,
It is
oh.
hard to see over the dashboard and stuff sometimes.
Like I thought I was good-ish. I just can't.
Well,
see
that was like the other. What is that? The backseat
Okay.
driver game I was thinking of, where
Back
the
is back.
main player drives the
too comfortable.
car, but it's like a little granny that can't see above the dash, and everyone in the back gives directions.
Driving
Is he
Miss
just
Daisy?
gonna ramp it now?
Oh. I've been left behind again!
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
if
he's
we'll
just
make
jumped
That
it.
was 5.
Oh, well, okay.
That was 5.
You didn't have to wait. He just could.
That's alright.
I guess
Now
I-
we know.
Okay, so we need to do what we did before.
Holy-
On the completely useless bridge that we didn't need to make, and put that wood
You got this.
and make it.
Oh,
Make it
we're
more of a
going
ramp.
to try this? Yeah, no, there's no way I can
The
ramp
engine's not
this.
even on yet, so you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's step 1.
Why does it keep moving?
Because I'm driving it.
Oh, no, I'm trying to fix the tire!
It's gonna be a.
Oh, God!
Oh, you're gonna try and ramp it, or you're just getting over here?
We'll see how bad this is gonna actually not work. Holy cow, shifting this game sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that you have to go up this hill when you're trying to get speed to jump a ramp.
Yep.
Oh, don't tell me that the other idea
It's
is
so
literally
slow.
just drive up this.
Yeah, nope. At this point, we just extend the ramp. Feel free to
What
restart.
was that? It looked like you just threw it first gear.
Where is
It
this?
basically was. It was in
Where,
second.
where is this wood at that you claim that we have somewhere close by?
Yeah, the one's just down the hill over here.
Loses
So
when we do it
Red's
that
definitely
way.
still the driver. But the extra lumber is actually here. There is a lumber. Just
I mean, it's not a lot. It's like
It's
what,
like
4
3
maybe?
pieces.
3.
Yeah. But even I think if like red with like these extended and the red's speed, as long as we have the nail gun and extend it, I think we could clear it. Obviously I can't put this here until we have the nail gun, but
I have it right in there next to me.
oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had some foresight.
Well,
Yeah, put it right here.
That's not far enough.
bird.
Bird.
Bird,
Toss it down.
bird.
Oh,
Oh,
they both
God,
got
Red!
me.
Oh,
Hold on, I'm gonna clutch it. I didn't clutch it. That's my corpse down the hill. So the
Oh,
first
crap.
bird picked me up, and I actually got the welder to the RV, and then the second bird got me. And it just... Hey,
Alright. Okay.
well, when you guys get
Let's get
done,
this wood
doing
Incoming.
the half bridge,
Did you just shoot a nail at him?
I'm dead.
Not yet.
What? Who's
All right,
that?
put it down,
Red
Giga.
said-
Put it down right at the edge as much as you can.
Oh.
As much as you can.
fortunately,
jump
that's
on it
not
and,
very
like,
far.
Counterweight. I feel like jumping counterweights it a little bit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Walk all the way up
Yeah.
to where I am.
It
at
just
least.
keeps on. Oh well, it's just gonna fall off if I do that.
Yeah, yeet.
You gotta be quick with
Did
the
it?
nail gun.
Oh, I put it on top of Wambat. Let me grab the other piece of lumber.
All right, wait, come
There's
here.
there's like 6 pieces of lumber. I'm a liar.
Just
There's
chilling,
so
man.
many pieces of
Ready?
lumber.
Be
Ready.
fast. Ready?
Ready.
I'm watching this.
Click. There you go. See? You just gotta be quick.
It's floating.
One problem.
What?
It's up. Well, and there goes that piece of lumber. So we got
There's
a piece
like
of lumber
6.
I can't currently drive on because it's in the air, and 2 at the bottom of the ravine. 'cause we dropped
I
them.
got more I can throw.
Here. That one might help. Maybe.
How many did I put in there? I think it's 2.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm
I
just
see
gonna
your
keep
name,
on
but I
putting-
don't see you. Where are you?
Here we go.
Well,
you don't need to go to.
where did
You
I
can
don't
just
know
go
where my
back to
body
the
is. It might
pit
have fallen
stop
down
and
the hill.
see.
You can try reviving me.
This
That's my
is
name.
a
But
I'm
nightmare
still
waiting.
over here. Nothing pops
We
up
build
when I
good
enter your
houses.
room.
We build many good houses.
yeah, I have.
Oh, that's a hell of a ramp. I think we might get airborne off that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I might have one more piece of lumber left.
Well, whilst you're here, can I borrow you?
Okay.
I'm gonna throw you the welding tool.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have to like
Okay.
push the E button to catch it.
Pretty much.
Might have to redo the one Chi did. Let's see.
Got
here.
it. Gamer.
Balls.
Oh, I'm a
Gaming.
gamer. Look at me. Oh.
Okay, if we can pull the nail out of this one, Wambat.
Wait, where's
Pulling.
the...
Beep, beep, beep.
It's not doing anything.
Let's go to the undercarriage. Very far under. Oh,
That's
hey
a
guys,
little
it's turbo
steep.
fuel.
Let's pull those nails back
I was
out.
trying to be fast. I'm sorry.
There it goes. So just
It
rest
feels
on
really
that
unsafe for
one.
my eyeballs.
And nothing will go wrong, right?
we basically made a Mario symbol. It's a giant.
This is a perfect ramp. It's perfectly fine for you, Red. There's nothing you have to worry about. Just go full speed and everything will be okay.
Exactly.
Stop!
Don't run in front of me,
Stop beating me.
silly goose!
What?
Beat me. Ghiga Red cheese beating me.
You ran in front of me while I'm swinging the hammer! What the heck?
I was trying to walk in the door. You just punched me in the face with the hammer.
What? No, I was already hammering before you ever walked in front of me. What the heck?
What the fuck did you guys do?
It's
They
fine.
don't know.
I promise you. It
Okay.
will at least be a good
Yeah,
story.
Yeah. I think we can do it with this.
Okay.
Catch
That
me.
would probably be easier. We probably don't even need all that lumber. We could
Yeah,
probably
you-
just use that.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do we have to be like right next to it? You think? Like
don't
right here,
know.
and then you. I think that's it. You put it in when I tell you to. Don't tell them.
Okay.
Act like you're not putting
Okay.
anything. They won't notice. They're silly. And
You're
We gotta put the
silly.
nitro in.
all right, guys, get in the RV.
1 second.
Get in the
We're gonna put the
RV.
speedy
1
oil in.
second, I'm fixing the tires.
Get in the
I
RV.
think
Get in the
I only
RV.
put it in
fixing
whenever we
I'm
get.
fixing it!
In the RV. All right.
What are you up to
Oh.
there, you stinky fox?
Nothing. Just driving the RV.
You're a liar.
Like any normal person.
I'm out of the RV. I got kicked out of the RV. Okay.
Okay.
Somehow I'm glitched into the ground. Okay.
Did you just
I'm on-
die?
No, I'm not
No.
dead. I just glitched through the ground. Little legs. That's how short people
Little
feel.
legs.
Okay.
Listen,
Yes, this-
I understand. I have issues with height. I have to ask people to get stuff off the top shelf.
Country
I own
roads.
a step ladder.
Giga
I
just
get
wanted to
it.
know what it was like to be
Yep.
pun.
Yeah.
Ah! Oh, well, good thing I fixed
Did we make
Lord.
it? Hey, that's all
Oh,
that matters. We
shit.
made it.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
We're still going.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Why am I out of my chair? What happened?
I'm gonna die
I
here.
went flying.
Okay.
Well, at least we made it across.
Uh,
hey,
We're
we're
like
right.
ourselves. Get in there. Get in. Drive.
Reverse. Yeah, put it in reverse and just take a left.
Wait.
Don't slam it into shit.
Bye, idiots.
They're gonna wreck it.
See you
He's
later,
gonna wreck it. We're gonna have to
losers.
start over again.
Oh, it's out. Oh, that lasted a little bit at least. All right, I'm just
Oh,
gonna see.
The only thing better is if he stops and then the eagle swoops in, pulls him out of the driver's seat.
Oh shit. Okay. we're not
What's
going
up ahead?
this
What's
hill,
up
apparently.
ahead? What do we got?
Water.
Well, it doesn't
Well,
float,
water.
so I don't think we got much option there.
Is it
Oh
the
no,
shallow
there's a
water
bridge.
thing
There,
again?
yeah, there's a land bridge here.
Yeah, it's
that
a little
was
bit like
so
the swamp
well
thing,
the
except
last
it's
time.
easier to see.
Goes here. Pretty much a straight shot. All the way over to here.
Well, at least the
It's a lot
water's
easier than
pretty
the swamp.
clear. Yeah.
The swamp was painful.
That was
And then,
painful. That was bad.
there's a geyser there, so
Oh,
worry
there's a
about
geyser
that.
like at the end, so be careful.
And then, loop,
Hold on.
and then here.
All right, floor it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know where we're going past.
I just
this.
missed that geyser too.
Alright. Oh, we just go over. Okay.
Okay. Okay, what do we got here?
Are we kind of making one this time? Over. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of shallows here.
Can we make a bridge to go from these rock to rocks while over the geysers? Because geysers have to be part of it. Oh, there's also something to the right. Is that anything? That can't be anything. That? Wait a second. Okay, hold on. This to the right is interesting. There's a land bridge here.
Yeah, and then you're up and over, or up and over to the side.
Yeah.
Do we have any
Yeah.
other geysers at the end?
Danger noodle. Is there a land bridge here though? Well, you know, we might make this.
The
That's a
men-
landmine.
The men are doing men things, so I'll fix the tires.
I have found another thing of turbo fuel.
That's entertaining. Keep that to
I
the
think it's
side for
shallow
now.
enough to be a land bridge piece here too. But after that, we've got no.
Up
It
here
goes.
looks pretty good. I mean, this seems like a way around over here.
And more
Who's seen
nitroglycerin.
we run out right here. Where the hell do we go?
I don't know where Waybat went.
I think over to the left.
you
is-
got-
Down
see
the
me?
river.
Yeah, we
What?
definitely go left. Here, Ghiga,
I'm
get that.
just a kid and-
Sorry.
I found nitroglycerin though.
Yeah, look, if we go over there, it takes us up over here,
Oh, turbo
and that could be a way. Or you can fall into the water.
Oh, did you actually set me down? I can't tell whenever you
did.
let me go
I did.
versus
I set
not.
you down. Well, I just found a bunch of scrap over here.
Ah, there you are. I'm coming back. I'm doggy paddling
Oh,
here.
that's good. We need some scrap.
Okay.
And scrap just chilling.
There's a lot of wood around here. What the fuck?
Yeah, we either make
There's
bridges.
also 3 winch
or-
pins.
There seems to be. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? That's possible. That looks like a
I
land
don't
bridge.
even know where the next.
What the heck?
And
I
then we
think
see
that
go-
would
this?
have been had we.
The
tried to
geyser
cross-
is just an asset that's put in. There's like water space underneath it. Actual space underneath the geyser.
Well,
Yeah, it's
Probably.
just there floating.
It's just a butthole put in the water, slightly into the water.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
I don't know if we need to come
Yeah.
over here for anything.
Well,
Modular
it's-
game design.
I think
Let's
it's
go.
easier if we come over this way because there's a land bridge there.
That's
over
where we
there.
came from, isn't it? Yeah, that's where we came
Yeah,
from.
we'd have to back up a little. No, we came from even farther. In between. That's it. Come here.
We came from that way over there. We don't need to. What? There's nothing progress over here.
Well, no,
I think
it's
that's
another
just
way
an
to go
alternative.
around that's not over the geysers and stuff,
We do,
right? Because
but
this is
it doesn't
Did I make it in? Ah, I made it in.
take
There
us anywhere.
no, it takes us over that giant wood bridge, so we don't have to go over the geysers. Because right here.
But is
right here
there a
where we
land
cross-
bridge here?
Right here.
we go.
Ah.
Where are you guys
How
now?
do we get there?
Ma-
We're behind
many
the- we're on
things,
our way.
yes.
And then we just
Where-
got to get.
I just
over
don't
this
know
hill.
where they're having.
Red
this
is trying to
discussion.
show someone that's basically blind where we should go next.
Okay, fine. We'll take Waybat. Waybat, you're one new guy. So if we can go over here,
But I do
Yeah,
see what you're
we'll
saying.
land
I'll just
here.
get some number.
and then over that
Yeah.
way, and then we'd have to fix the bridge up there a little bit, and we could go around and go down, and it would avoid like all the geysers, or we could try making bridges ourselves to go across the geysers. That kind of is the two options we got here.
My question is, can we just go up the mountain after we get to that section over here,
That doesn't look
and then
possible.
just bypass all the whole water park?
That mountain?
Yeah, is there a way up there? I want to see.
No, I don't think so. We were over there.
There wasn't a way
Yeah.
up. Like, okay. Well, I'll take your word.
Yeah, so that's kind of the options. We either make bridges across the geysers, or we go through the land bridge way and make a little bridge. Which I think is that Chi up there? Is that you up there, Chi?
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
me.
I can't tell. You guys have your hats are similar at a distance because they're red and brown.
So couldn't we go where Ghiga is, and then there's the stone over there
Yeah.
on the other side, and just go across?
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. I was looking a little bit further ahead. Was
Yeah,
Try to see
you're on.
what
Yeah,
the
you're on
shape
the
of
next
the
water.
phase.
I think it's either that or you can go this way over here, with the wood, right? Is
Yeah.
that what you guys were saying?
Basically.
yeah, yeah. That was the
Oh,
other
close enough.
option.
Hey.
We're probably still gonna need wood either which way.
Yeah,
A little
I've
bit of
already
wood,
carried
but-
one over here.
Yeah, carry like another 2, you guys.
You just look like little ants holding massive leaves as you're
I know.
carrying the wood across.
We're playing Grounded, the uncle game.
I got my
Hold on.
board. Coming with my board,
Alright.
fellas.
Watch out for the geyser. Watch out for the danger.
I think once it erupts, it's not gonna give me problems.
I ain't risking it. Ah, shit.
Oh, other than the fact you were floating there, yeah, you're
Yeah.
dry wheeled.
Okay,
Oh,
this-
wait,
hook up front,
this
hook up
is
front,
really
direct tree to the right.
far.
Is this what he's talking about right here? No, I'm sorry. He's talking about right here.
Of course.
How's that
Of
gonna
course.
work?
Keep on. Did you die, Red?
I don't think this
Okay.
is gonna work.
I'm in the middle of the water.
I don't think this is gonna work, you guys. This is really
We're gonna
far.
flood and die.
I think it's gonna work.
It's really
Just
far.
ignore the
I'm trying to
gravity.
find Red. I see Red's name. I don't see.
You could
Oh,
try
hold
the
on.
name. Yeah, you-
Revive. I stabbed air.
It stabbed the name.
Oh, keep that connected for a second.
I
I like to wait until Red's in the driver's seat.
yeah. I don't know if the driver's seat's gonna help current situation.
So
Country roads.
There's no way we can hook it, is there?
there's like 5 winch pins on top of the,
We do have a lot of winch pins.
because there was 3 back there, and I picked them all up and put them on there. So we have a ton
We're
of
just
them.
was one of the remotes? No, whatever. I'll use this one.
So we could put a winch pin over there and just drag it across.
The problem is if the engine gets in the water, it breaks.
Only if it stays in the water, though. If you drag it through the water
Sure.
fast enough, it should be fine. In theory.
All right.
The problem is,
A game
these-
theory.
problem is, I don't know how we're gonna use these boards because they don't reach.
The nail gun.
Okay, that's not gonna help.
How's it not gonna help?
Well, because right now it's in the water.
The nail gun's in the water.
No, the board's in the water.
Oh,
Who's on first?
pick up the board.
Mm.
No wonder only 0.5.
Oh! Oh no!
Yeah, I was trying to solve the
I just
situation
hear
myself.
Red go, and
The funny
then
thing is that the
whole thing
last
just-
couple of things were actually pretty
Fuck.
easy.
Yelp.
We're back to
Alright.
the.
We might be able to just
what's up?
jump it. We'll have to repair,
Yeah.
but we might be able to repair and just jump.
Yeah, we're gonna repair and jump. Hold on.
Might not even need the boards.
Oh yeah, with that nitro stuff, whatever you got.
Yeah, I'll get
Turbo
it again.
fuel.
Don't worry.
Turbo.
That didn't work.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
All right, hold on.
Hello.
Oh, I was
I'm
gonna
right
go down
here.
here. Alright, you know, let's just.
Hi.
I'll go grab the turbo
Hi.
fuel.
Weldy. Weldy,
Ow.
weldy. I don't know how this works. Weldy.
Weldy.
I
Is
just
it
put
a
on the base
Pokemon?
part.
It's working.
I'm an
Same
engineer.
weldy,
I'm a
you-
mechanic. It's like I work at AutoZone or something.
weldy. Yep. Coming back up. Look in the pit.
Chi, you keep the door closed when you're using the bathroom.
I was just changing my hat.
I'm the most mechanic-y person. I have a job at AutoZone, and it's just gonna make it. I'm that much smarter on cars.
Well, I'm better than you. I work at O'Reilly's.
Auto parts.
O'Reilly's auto parts.
Yeah, no, I don't. Anyone that works at those places, like, you have the diagram of the car. Congrats, you can tell me what part I need to order because you have the diagram. But tell me when to put the fuel in.
I think like at least the local
fine.
O'Reilly's near me actually has one of those things you borrow that gives you the
New
spits
fuel
the error code
has
out
been
for you.
inputted.
Yeah, they all do that.
All right,
The
I'll let you
AutoZones
sit
and
down
all
before
do
we
that.
take off.
So hang
Sit
on,
down.
scraps. Let's scrap the scraps. I'm not leaving scraps here.
Kind of want to leave Wayne bad behind. Really
Please
funny.
don't leave me behind.
It's kind of-
Here I am
You're
trying
right.
to get scraps for you. You're just gonna leave me behind.
You walked out. I was like, here we go. And Lambert's like, hold on.
We could honestly like start back from further, but
Yeah.
What the
there
hell?
we go.
Did you put the?
What? Oh, we didn't make it.
We
Make-
definitely probably needed second gear. Restart.
Well, there goes the. I see the ladder out over there.
Just keep going. Oh. Dang it.
just keep wedging. Just keep wedging.
Wenching, just keep wenching. Ah, he's going.
Probably just to get it fixed, and then we will try to do fifth gear and see if we can't just rip it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I got it before on like second gear. I didn't get.
Well,
second
we
gear
also
this
had
time.
all the
Got a little
extra
silly.
lumber pieces.
That's true.
That's true, too.
Lumber jump.
Okay, who's here? All right.
Hey.
Hey.
I guess it does have its own sound effects. I don't need to make additional sound effects.
Why not? It's just
But
makes
they're
it more
better
fun.
sound effects.
Wait. If you want to see magic show, look in the
Major.
pit.
This is Major Ghiga, the air ground control. I'm welding up the ship,
Just welds everything solid. Why is the vehicle not moving?
and I'm
I
now
don't know.
stuck in this death machine.
Ah,
All right.
I yawned.
Where's my fuel putter?
I'm a yawner. I yawn.
You're gonna judge it. There, hold on to that, Chi.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can probably put it in now, even, and like we can hit it from way back here.
What the fuck am I stuck on?
Tree.
There's a tree.
Fucking stupid ass tree.
Where's
Can
the nitro fuel?
In my hand.
Yeah.
You'll have to take it back by the engine.
Oh. Oh. The fuck?
Is it in?
Yeah, go
Yep.
ahead, put it in. Okay, let's sit down.
All
Sweep.
scrabbed.
It's in. Go, go, go.
Go, expect your gadget.
Go, go, Power Rangers.
There we go.
Oh.
Wait. Oh, different hole.
Okay, we're good.
What the
We're
hell?
good.
We hit it?
We're
Hey.
good.
We made. Oh.
We're
We-
good.
Yeah, we
Lined it up.
can get out of this.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
good.
God.
Oh, are we floating?
Yeah.
Now we're stuck. Yeah.
We're good
Well,
though.
Hear me.
This is very fixable.
Yeah.
Is this the right way out? I think so.
Ah!
The flippers also helps.
I just flipped it.
I just reset the winch. Okay. Oh goodness.
No, don't do that.
I'm old
Wait,
though.
No, oh, man,
wait, don't
ETs.
repair. Don't repair. I can currently see behind me. I can't see behind me for repair.
Okay.
I'm an old man. When you get to my age, Wambat.
Ghiga even took a nap.
I take a nap every day. My day starts at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's crazy.
I work till 3:30, get home at 4, take a nap from 4 to 6,
around.
and then resume movement at 6 to actually be able to stay up to a moderate time.
My day starts at 3 a.m. when my cat wakes me up.
Well, that's stupid.
That's why
Tell her
I
to
also
stop
don't
it.
have a cat.
I don't know how to tell her to stop it.
My
She has
animals,
Water
a
bottle.
damn auto feeder.
my animals don't wake me up in the middle of the night. Lola did when she was a puppy, but then she stopped after
Well,
a while.
she's like a year and a half now.
I need a guide. It's a little safer if we have a guide.
Giga!
I am well ahead of all of you at this point.
Oh, Giga,
Okay.
you gotta come guide
Giga,
me.
get back here, Giga.
Giga, come back. You can blame it all on me. I was wrong, and I cannot live without you.
Why did you grab the winch? I just needed you to guide me through the
So you
water.
can see a straight line of
Oh my
where to drive.
Ah!
I hear a damn. It might be a good idea I did that because of the hawk gets me. At least have a
in the
winch.
water.
Holy
Oh my
shit, bro.
I'm just waiting for the geyser to pass. I'm so glad I didn't go.
Oh, that's a
Oh
bird.
my god.
Me alone, bird.
Go.
I
Run,
hate
women,
water.
don't get run
I think
over.
that's the lesson that I've learned
I'm
here.
getting out of the
Water
water.
sucks.
There it
Water's
goes.
stupid.
All right.
You know what we could do to
Alright.
drain all this water?
AI.
Drink.
Let's build
You
a
got
data
spoons?
center next to it.
I don't.
Ah, I made it funny.
I don't know if the data center will help too much. It'll
No.
come back with just
Do
heavy
we want to
metals.
try
in
the
it.
way we did before? Or do we want to go bridge? I mean, I think we still
No,
have to probably
the-
put some planks the other way.
The point of the joke was to
Well,
get
yeah,
rid
the
of
steam
the water.
and using up it all, but yeah. But it also said that I think they said that it also contaminates groundwater too.
I mean,
It has to
that's-
basically be like drinking level water.
You guys
fresh
are, You guys are
water.
ruining the joke by being technical.
But that's the joke.
Part of the joke.
The joke is that we ruined the joke.
No, it was funny. Damn it! I'm
It's funnier
funny.
when we ruined it. At least to us, it's funnier.
I bet it was a bully. Whambat's just a bully, so I've decided.
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it.
Wait, a
Those
bully
cat people.
bullies me. Those cat people.
I was bullied all my life in school, so it's my turn to be the bully, and I choose
think
you.
those cat people. They think they're better than everyone.
Oh, I know I am.
That sounds exact. If a cat had was a person that could speak, yes, that's exactly the cat mentality. I was worshipped as a god. What are you talking about? Yep.
Need a ladder.
Ouch.
Wait,
I'm
we need
dead
these
on
winch
top
pins.
now.
Don't go anywhere yet.
Are you on? Is that where you landed?
Yep.
That sounds
I'm
like
just
you,
being
Bob,
pancaked now.
Wait. Ah,
Reggie's
Ah!
rolling me
Knocks
over.
him off and then runs him
Stop
over
running
and
me
drives over
over!
him both ways.
Why would you get out? I'm clearly trying to do an 80-point turn.
I'm trying to get. I had to fix the ladder so I can put the winch pins up there. Jesus.
Oh shit.
We need the winch pins.
You still got it. Was there more than one or just one? Because I only found one.
Winch pins? There's like 3.
Yeah.
There you go, Giga. Come get a pin.
Giggos.
Giga, come get a pin.
Well, that knocked me over.
It's right here. Get it.
No, there's
no
alcohol
snow.
in here.
It's all over there.
Do you want to build a sandman? He'll visit you in your sleep.
Will it sing Metallica to me?
He'll
Ooh,
take
I
all
like
your
that.
dreams and turn them into nightmares just for me.
I feel like if we.
You might be a little sleepy, but that's all right.
You got a
We're
nail gun?
old and we love to take
Not a terrible idea.
naps.
Oh, and he's now using Broadway musical terms.
If
Here.
I could legitimately just make parody songs of everything and just call it good.
That was good.
Can someone bring a nail gun over here?
Yawn. I yawned.
I would have to
I'm
locate a
heading
nail
to-
gun.
Back
I
there.
do know there is a nail gun back here.
There's like 3 on the bus. On the RV.
Yeah, Chi, can
I
you
got
grab a
the other
nail
one.
gun from the RV? Nobody's-
I got it.
Give me a nail gun.
Sounds good.
Go faster. Remember? Smoking makes you run faster. I don't know if you can smoke and hold a thing though. Chi, you can just bring that over here, that piece of wood.
Can I?
Yep.
Will I drown?
Yep. Nope.
Can one drown?
Yes.
Alright.
It's pretty much walkable.
You can just give me that.
Okay,
No,
the
it's
real
winnable.
question. Sorry, science.
Alright. Can you nail wood to
Anything?
the ground? Or does it have to be wood on wood?
I don't know.
No, this one went back.
It's the no go.
Depends on your genre, I
Wood on
suppose.
wood.
Alright. What if we create this
I don't know.
thing?
Yeah, I
do
can
you
do
swing
that.
that way?
Together?
Do you need me? That's gonna be hard for it to go up like that.
No, give me
This
the...
conversation is
We're
just not
testing.
getting
Together?
better.
He wants to know if you can actually nail them together.
Where do you want me to nail?
No.
Right in between, nail them together.
I can't
Okay.
take this conversation serious anymore.
Okay. You know what, Wimbat, you stand on the far end over here. Okay, and then
You can't
Chi-
blow up mines on with your body,
Yeah?
unfortunately. They're
Well,
only
you can.
props.
It's just be a
What do you
one-time
want
deal.
me to do?
You come back to the RV and grab the remote.
Not
Why is this
even
so
good.
alcohol?
Remote.
Wait,
Ah!
left.
Holy shit!
Holy cow! We have sunk
Oh.
the truck
Oh
just
shit!
by attaching the.
Okay, hey, Chi, you got that remote?
No,
'Cause-
because it went flying!
All right, well,
Okay, I got
And
it now.
I
got it
can't
now.
show you the world.
I would just start. Yeah, just start
Oh
pulling.
no! If it was Red was driving as glug 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 glug.
My
Why is it on
RV's
this tree? I don't
underwater.
I don't
understand.
know. It broke and it's on the tree.
It went from driving on land to a submarine without anybody. Holy shit!
Somebody come get her. She's dancing
Oh.
like a stripper.
That was crazy!
She popped and she rolled and she rolled. She danced in that pole. I'm in love with a stripper.
That's crazy, yo. How did that even happen? That was insane.
Physics.
I guess I should
Red
Getting
is gonna
closer.
run over all of us.
Next time I'll just make sure it's closer.
That was weird though that it like the tree affected it at all. I don't understand what happened there. It, like,
That's
glitched.
true. Yeah.
I'm on my way. Throw it. I'm here. Whee.
I'm
Ooh,
alive.
I
I'm
sucked
here.
and absolutely did not catch that. So, hello? Oh.
Well, you didn't throw it high enough.
Okay, here, now I'll throw it.
Not throw it away, man.
Woo! Here you
All right, now come here.
Got it.
go. Okay.
Come on down here. You'll be fine.
I'm alive.
Come on.
I'm good.
I'm alive.
I'm
But I'm
good.
barely breathing.
Welcome to the hole.
Ooh.
Scrap. All right, turbo fuel. Pick that up.
Okay.
I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing.
You ready for
Fell
magic?
down and now my legs are caving in.
No,
Caved
Still
my knees
putting on
in. That rhymes
armor.
better.
so we don't blow up.
I'm falling
Ow!
from.
Ow! Ow!
Well, get out of the way!
Releasing.
I was getting out of the way.
I'd have to convert that over to a full parody. I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. I
no!
fell and caved
Oh.
all my knees in.
All that work
I had
for
a
nothing.
breathing.
I
And I
faded
just-
through the floor again.
With or without the fuel?
I had the
All right,
fuel.
the
I am
fuel's fine.
applying fuel now.
Well, I did
Alright.
all that work for nothing.
Yep.
Oh God,
And now there are birds.
Yeah.
Please sit.
The Eagles, they're trying to take us to
Help!
Mordor.
birds! Thank you.
Yeah, barbs.
Oh, God.
They wear the
I
barbs.
think we're sitting down. It looks like it can't rip us out of the seat.
I don't think we made it. Oh my god, I think we did.
We
We
totally
made it. We made it. Just
We
hang
made
in
it
there.
Better than last time, actually.
There you go. Now, if you could just
New record.
stop.
Okay, slow down.
Full
slow
speed.
down.
We're sending this all the way
In the
across the water.
place.
Slow down!
What are you doing, Red?
Hey.
Okay. Holy shit!
To left, to left.
Oh, yeah. Careful of the guy.
And
with
And
the
now
thing
we
with
look for the
box.
geyser.
Yeah, good job.
Where are
We're
we exactly?
on-
Because there we go. We're just in front of
I think there's more turbo fuel around here, if I remember right.
Turbo
Just,
Fool.
just drive along the bottom of the ocean, call it good.
Right? Does that mean it's
Ramp
really
from
stripped? We're
rock to
shocked?
rock.
No.
Just ramp from rock to rock and call it good. A lumber? Don't need that.
Where we're going, there are no roads.
Um.
I'm trying to see if I can get it from this angle.
Huh?
We're still talking about the game.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I got one tire fixed
Uh-huh.
from hanging outside.
We need
Yeah.
some planks
Uh-huh.
to work with now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got
Just
more
leave that there.
scrap.
It's fine. It's not going anywhere. Just don't push it.
I'm
Where's
alone.
the turbo fuel?
Go get
This
planks.
doesn't- feel safe.
Good. It's not.
I feel like
here
I
with
am
the
not
chief.
in a safe place right now.
Oh no, we're not.
We're fine.
Bird.
I found
Oh, that's fine.
nitroglycerin.
Never mind.
Boom.
Oh.
I have more turbo
Hey,
fuel.
Colin.
Can somebody please get planks? Chi, don't walk into the RV. That's
I was
very
trying to
scary
protect
now.
myself from the bird.
Okay.
Burb. Go away, burb. You suck, burb. Okay, I'm free. I dodged the burb.
Oh, bird got me. But look, water. I didn't make it to the water. The bird did not drop me high enough to make it to the water, but enough to break my legs a little.
Damn.
Just two little pieces of wood.
Did the bird go away? It looked like the bird flew off.
Alright. One set drops down.
Well, you don't need
Okay,
the wood to
well,
cross
I-
that.
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Trust me.
Oh,
That was one of the reasons we already died.
there's like land
Just
right
You.
yeah. Let's wait.
here.
Good enough.
All right. Nail gun.
Whoa, nice.
All right, this time I'm gonna bring this closer, so when we make the thing,
Floor it.
it doesn't.
Floor it.
No, I cannot get across that.
Floor it.
Do we have any fuel in here to repair?
I
Okay,
don't
Palpatine.
think so.
He'll just do it.
Yeah,
Do it.
there is, I think.
You know what? That's gonna be overkill. All right, we got
I'm trying to see if there's anything else we can use to
Plank.
fix it.
no. That's enough fuel repair. Grab the planks.
What's the point of this nitroglycerin for here?
I think we put it in the engine, it explodes. So that's cool.
That's one thing I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, at least not until the
Right.
next checkpoint.
Look.
Okay, I have a remote.
Okay. There you are.
Ready.
Okay, that did nothing.
Yeah, same way as before.
Ouch, why am I poisoned? Hello? Bad plant. I didn't even hear a rattlesnake.
A bad
Use your
plant? Oh no.
Is that gonna work, or do you want me to reline it?
The plants
That's
are
fine.
attacking.
Humanity went too far.
Oh, there's a banger
Mother Nature
song.
herself is here to kick butt.
There's a banger song. So good.
Well, I mean, that's what the swamp thing's for.
Okay, got it. All right, Chi, get ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, we're hooked.
Pull. Yeah, cool. All right, that was very minimal damage. All right, yeah,
Are you in? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
We'll need these again for the next little land bridge because it's like staggered weird.
I cannot see the bridge from this angle.
That is
Uh,
fair. Hello?
Turn to your right.
Oh
There you go.
shit, we are not near. Oh wait, I thought I put it in park. Holy shit, game.
Ooh. Whoa.
E and stay in it this time.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll probably have to put some
No, don't
planks
stay in
on
the P.
this
Yeah,
one.
I'm removing the nail over here.
Yep. Sound good. I'll grab it.
Yeah. Stop. I'm gonna need you two to focus up here.
Oh, sorry. Jamming.
But songs. But Fallout Boy.
But
Nice.
my stream's playing a banger.
Oh, hang on. It's not. I have to be closer. Damn it.
Wait, that's not bad where it is.
Girl Scout
Or not.
cookies.
Oh, no.
That's
Is that gonna work?
fine. Yeah, grab the second
Oh,
one.
yeah. You're a hairy wizard.
Let's, I'm gonna be honest.
Hmm.
This does not look
Stop
straight at
stop
all.
rubbing one out, and then you won't have so
Oh,
much
it's not
hairy
straight,
palms.
but it'll work, right?
I don't know. It doesn't. I don't trust.
A lot of
it.
people make it work for him,
It'll
so
be
it's
all right.
fine.
It'll be all right. Oh,
Well, that's not gonna work.
That one definitely won't work though. Nope.
Nope.
It
Just
could be worse.
forward.
It just keeps on
There
forward,
you
sliding.
go.
Forward.
That's better.
What is that gonna do for us?
Wee.
Oh, I don't know.
Water.
I don't know what the point of that wood
I
was.
think they're trying to make it even with the other side, so it's not all
Yeah,
sideways.
so that the
Why don't
whole
we
thing
just-
doesn't twist.
Why don't we just prop this one so it goes up the hill?
I don't know. That's a
I
good
don't
question.
know. I just work here.
All right, hold on. Don't remove it yet. Let me put this one down so I can put.
All right, I
I didn't
removed
say
it.
every idea I had was
No.
good. I just said it was an idea.
I can't pick it up because I'm holding a remote.
Yeah. I don't know if we need the remote holding. Excuse me. I'm gonna jump over your brain. Hold on. Oh!
Oh,
okay.
red!
I don't know what that was all about.
Every once in a while, the game's just like, oh, we're on the moon.
Um,
I believe I can fly.
That's fine.
I picked up a board, then I got launched so high.
Just in case. Oh, it's not.
The physics in the game can be mean. I'm
Just in
flying
case.
like I have eagle wings. And you said my idea
Yeah.
was bad.
Hit.
Yeah. Oh,
Need
he
help
did it.
there, Red.
I like,
was
he can jump close enough to glitch into it.
Pretty much. Guys, just so it's clear, I can't see the
you
floor.
need to go to the left
it.
a little.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
you
now
go.
straighten up, straighten up.
Yep.
You gotta unwinch.
Just
I can't.
drive.
You don't have to. You don't have
Bump
to
it a
hold
little
the
to the
way. You can
left.
I'm trying to
Just
get
keep
rid of.
driving.
I'm
Just let it
trying to-
go.
I'm trying.
Let it go.
Jesus.
Let it
There we
go. Oh, truck.
All right.
Okay. Now the hard
All
part.
right, stop. Yeah.
Me now the hard part.
That was the easy part.
All right.
Now we
I
gotta
got
drive
here.
over these rocks right here. Ah!
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
know.
Gee.
What
Is it-
just hit me for poison?
That's
Well,
what I've been
I-
asking.
Noodle right here.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't see
I don't
it
see a
either.
noodle at all.
I don't
Right
see
here.
it either.
With
And
my
it just
pings
like hit me for almost my whole health of
You don't see
poison.
the noodle where my pings are?
No, there's nothing there.
I
it's
see
just
your ping. I
grass.
don't see the noodle.
There's a big ass danger noodle right there. I wouldn't
Yeah, I
fuck
only
with it.
see grass. I don't see anything else.
Don't
Yeah.
go in that spot. It is a very dangerous. Maybe I can bait into the water though. Hold on.
So the real question is like, could we like drive up the side of the mountain and then just drive past all the rocks?
All right, I got the snake into the water. We're good. I'm poisoned half to death, but I got the snake in the water.
That's a red
same.
question.
That looks a little too steep.
That's fair.
We would probably get
I
to
just
here
don't
and then
know
it would just
how
fall down.
I just don't know how effective driving over these rocks will be.
Yeah, I mean we could probably.
We
right,
can
hold on.
grab the lumber from over here though. We're close enough, right? Yeah, it's a lot easier. I'll go start picking up wood.
Hey, look, there's the winch pins.
All those winches.
There do be
All
a
your
lot of
witches
them.
belong to us.
How far
Gee,
can I
Yeah.
throw
I'm
that?
telling you,
Not
others
very
are
far
already
at all.
stuck.
How are you
I'm already
stuck?
stuck.
Yeah, it's
I
stuck.
don't. Well, no, I'm just sliding, but I'm definitely not doing
Oh,
that.
you're one because 2 of your tires aren't touching the ground.
No, that'd probably do it. If just
Can I push?
Oh, good.
Oh no! Careful!
Excuse me. Part of me coming through. Excuse me.
Ah!
Hey.
What the fuck?
Push
Hear me
would be
so I can
appreciated.
push.
I do have winch pins.
Oh.
Oh, the
Oh.
geyser pushed you! The geyser pushed you!
All right.
There we go.
Are we free?
Who needs
Question
wood?
mark?
Alright, stop. Maybe. Oh, that's
No.
Yeah, there's
kinda
another
cool.
underwater part.
It's gonna be to the left.
All right. No, I see it. I'm just scoping out. Oh shit! I'm dead. Danger noodle.
Where?
Right next to the RV. Like by the door.
I don't need these winch pins.
I don't see the snake.
I can't see the danger noodle at all.
I think it left. Or is in the water or something. He's in the water. He's over here. Just don't go in the water and you'll be fine.
I hate that I can't see them.
But we have to go in the water, Red.
Not that water. Okay.
Hey, if
Oh,
you
this-
completely go to your right,
Yeah.
you're screwed. It's gonna wind here to the left.
Alright, this is just the fun part. Oh, okay.
Yeah, can we build a raft with these boards?
I don't know if we
That's
need this or
first.
not, but I have
That's
brought in
first, Matt.
I've brought in a plank.
I don't.
Because right here, there's
know.
like I don't know what we do.
Yeah, that just looks dangerous. Alright, a little bit of guidance because I think we'll be still above water for the most part of that.
You know, until we get to right here.
Yeah.
I can grab a winch pin. It's too late. I'm done talking. I'll just sit here and just hum.
Oh shit, is that in the water? Shit.
There you go.
Alright, are you good?
I mean, you're in
It was
water,
just
but you're the engine's
Barely
not being
touching the
damaged.
water.
Yeah, you're fine.
Alright, yeah.
Ba-dum.
The engine's not being damaged, so you're good.
Definitely not right. Okay. I mean, that looks possible there.
It's like we need to use the geysers to get us.
Oh my god. Or
Yeah,
we
that would be funny.
do we just winch it? Or geyser it?
Winch it and geyser?
Fast.
Where are
I
we
mean-
supposed to go? This way? I think we're supposed to go
That's-
this way.
Also a question.
I don't think that
I'm
way
swimming.
makes a
Look at
lot
me
of
swim.
sense.
Swim,
This
swim,
way doesn't
swim.
make sense. Ooh, I don't know.
We
I'm
definitely
walking
go
out
right
this
here
way
through
to
the
see-
trees. We absolutely go right here through the trees.
Yeah,
Okay.
right here it's fine.
We could like park on the trees here and then go. Yeah, we're just gonna have to go between geysers and trees, hooking and pulling probably.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I do have a winch pole here. I've set that, but down by Chi. I'll go
Right.
recover more winch poles.
Yeah, I think we just gotta be fast.
Just remember when we put the winch pin on these trees, put them high.
Well, you don't have to put a winch pin on a tree.
No,
You just attach the winch
Or
to
not
the
winch
tree.
pitch. I mean the winch itself on the trees.
Yeah. We just need a pin over here because there's not really anything connected to.
Yeah, but, well,
Where
not.
do we go once
yeah,
we get
not-
over here, though?
We're not going to that island.
We're not going here. Where are we going?
No, that's
No,
so far.
we're going to the
We go
over here to
we
the
go-
right.
We go here. You see me? I don't know what hat I'm wearing.
Yeah, I see you.
And then we kind of go towards that direction, but after that, pretty much a sharp right to these trees.
Oh, you're going through the rock, under the rock bridges.
Yeah,
Through these
that's
arches.
yeah.
Oh.
And then we're gonna have to just hook tree to tree, I guess. That looks like the only plausible way. The
Yeah,
only
because-
part I'm worried about is this first area. Because I don't know how much farther I can get the RV right now. Maybe I can get it far enough that I can hook onto a tree there.
Well, there's a shallow spot right here where I'm walking around. I'll put that winch pole there.
I'm on a geyser and it's not going off.
And right here is a
Good.
shallow
Good.
spot.
All right. I got the winch.
Oh, there it goes. I heard it.
And then
Hey, guys.
yeah,
Can I just have
Yeah.
someone back here to pull the remote?
yes.
Because like,
I'll do the remote. I'm remote chi.
Remote-chi.
Remote chi.
Like a Tamagotchi, but just a different type.
I was
Yeah.
gonna think of it like a tea,
Yeah.
a remote-chi tea.
No, that's a chai tea, you silly goose.
Okay. A cheat.
A Remochi. Maybe your Remochis won't die as quickly as a Tamagotchi.
Right? Just
Can't get
feed me
into-
and I'll be
Nah.
happy.
Just doesn't. If you don't take care of it, it just poops everywhere and then eventually
we
dies.
can't get in. Thank you.
There's under the sea.
Under the sea, everything's
remote when I
better.
tell you.
Always better.
Well, actually, remote
Thinking
needs to
for me.
stop when I tell you to stop, but go almost instantly. You ready?
Ready?
We gotta go a little left, and then we're gonna pull.
Okay, just tell me when to push the button.
All right. Pull.
Push the button, crunk.
All right, stop.
Telever.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Pull the lever, crank.
Crunk.
Make sure you say it right. Crank.
Crunk.
Wasn't it last time when we
Crunk.
looked it up how it was spelled?
Yeah, it was a crunk.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was the whole time.
It's
No,
crank
it's
with an
definitely
O.
crunk.
Yeah.
Crunk.
Pretty sure everybody
Alright.
says crunk.
Here, Wayne, can you come here? You poopies.
Okay, I think I'm.
Poopies.
If you would be oh so kind as to pick up the winch, right, and put it on the roof, because I'm just gonna put it up there.
Oh,
All right, come back. Got it.
yep.
Cool.
And
That's
it's
it.
put up.
All right, let me just see the next shallow part real quick. Okay. I don't even know if we're gonna actually winch this one.
You gotta back up and move
You
around the
should-
tree first.
This is what you should do. You should put a winch pin in that rock over there to the right and go that way.
Is it shallow enough to do that?
I don't
Yes.
even know if we want the winch here, but I'm definitely gonna veer right to the rock.
Yeah, no, this is deep water here.
It was behind us
Like
too, but
it's-
we just winched it through it.
But,
Oh.
yeah, we're gonna go to these trees and then hard right. So I don't think I want the winch in here because I'm just gonna use the trees as a marker. I don't want to get like, stuck and pulling us backwards.
Mm.
Can I get up the damn ladder?
No.
I will stand as a point for the next. Like I'm standing in the middle of the next shallow ground.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's longer than I
don't go
expected.
when the geyser's going.
Yep.
We're good. We're good. I just want to see where
Perfect.
we go from here.
Yeah.
Is
It looks
it
like you kind
Just
of
across the rocks there.
right here. Yeah. So you would go up the rock, but then right here's the shallow
Ah, it's
part.
just not letting me get up there. There it goes.
The problem is I don't know where you go after the shallow part ends.
Oh, it's all shallow to here, and then it's not as shallow through here. There's a geyser, and then on
Wait,
the
wait,
other
wait,
side of the
wait.
other
Okay.
side of the geyser, it's shallow-esque
Yeah.
here again.
I don't have any others. You just shot me over the whole thing.
I'm
But
sorry.
we don't have any more room up top.
Oh, you
Oh.
just carry it then. Be the winch pin.
What did you
backpack.
do? I just went underneath the RV and then shot up through it.
You got caught in the geyser probably.
No, we're close enough up, guys.
All right. I didn't really get a good look over here. Hold on.
I think
Yeah.
you want to go where Ghiga is, maybe. Right?
Yeah, it
Well-
helps. I also whoa,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is shallow.
Yeah,
Right.
we got shallow,
Mhm.
and then
Next to the tree.
right here it's not as shallow, but you got the
That's
geyser,
fine. That's fine.
and then it goes shallow again here.
Okay, we
Hmm.
can stop here
And
then.
then
Okay, we'll stop right
it
after the
cuts,
geyser.
Yep, and then it cuts over to the right here to this tree.
All right. Stand, Ghiga. All right, come here.
On my way back.
Come here.
I'm trying.
All right, just stand right here. Just stand right here. That just helps. And then where's Wembat? Wembat, can you come down? I'm also going to use you as a human marker. Come here. Yeah.
Ow, that actually hurt.
Yeah. Just,
Terrible too shallow.
yeah, right
The
there,
problem
that way.
is, it's the only time I hear of human marker. Has anyone watched the Studio C skit of like they're all the colors and the color
Yes.
black just keeps on coming up with like I'm black and nothing's happy and like just like tases people? Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I did not want to stop right here, but the damn guys are. Okay.
No,
Are we good?
Giga.
Well,
Oh,
human
no.
marker. It,
Oh shit!
Ah!
As long as it's not the thing's not in the water, I don't care. Okay, are we off that
no,
guy?
the human marker part, Giga, I'm thinking of is Dead Space.
Okay, so the tree is there. That tree's.
I don't think I know
Because
that
remember, the red markers are made by humanity.
Okay.
one. Oh yeah. Nope. Yeah,
Okay,
no. Studio Z is like every
grab you.
color's like
Alright,
super
you
happy and then
stand.
black's just like rain
You float-
clouds
you float,
and all
like,
these
right
other
there.
things.
That works. That works good. Okay, and then you
I'm just a
stay in
buoy.
there. And then you just stay in that RV and look cute.
Okay, I'm good at that. Yeah. I got my
All right,
remote.
you got a new plan.
Yeah.
I need uppies.
Oh.
I'm just gonna sit here and smoke as a buoy.
Yeah. Thank you. And you're doing great. Giga, please make
Just
sure you're
make-
at the end of the line.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm in the middle of this roadway
Red
here.
just got real uppies.
Okay.
You didn't even have to redeem points.
Okay.
Wrap yourself
that
on
was
that
a
tree.
tree.
How?
Reverse.
I didn't think I was that close to the tree, but sure.
Okay, you're close to the edge. Don't go any further. There you go.
There we go. And
Run,
then you can just
Giga!
head straight this way.
You good?
Run, Giga!
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Whew.
Dry land,
Holy
let's go!
moly.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
Stop. There
Please.
looks like a
Oh,
cliff. There's more water.
Why? There's the next station.
Oh, good thing I stopped right there, huh?
Yeah, so I was like, stop, we can't see!
Do we just go around? I'll be honest.
It looks like there might be a left. Yeah, we'll
I
see.
feel
I don't.
like I
I'll
just wanna
double
go
check
left.
the.
That feels a
Double
lot
check the
easier.
waters. Oh no, yeah, no. This is all deep.
Yeah, I don't. Well, what's right? That looks stupid, funny, scary, dangerous. Could surf this mountain here, and then you know what? No, I don't think I want to go to the right.
No, I think
You know,
wanna
even
go
I
over
got
there.
no,
limit.
one mistake and we'd be at the bottom of that
Yeah, I'm
massive
not doing all
crevasse.
that. So, how does the above over there look, Chi?
I mean, it looks like a
Hey.
path. It's kind of steep, though. I
Is
don't
this
know.
a sea mine? Hey, get ready to
yeah,
res me.
Mine. Yeah, have you not?
I tried to blow them
noticed
up. I think only the thing can blow them
Only the
up.
RV blows them
Oh.
I
up.
don't think we can.
So the problem,
It's-
Red,
oh,
is
that's
once you get
bullshit.
over here, it's really steep, and you'll
Yeah, I'm not worried
probably
about that.
fall.
Yeah. No, this is definitely a take a left. I don't think it's
Yeah.
they want you across this water at all. It's way too deep.
We just might have
Well, they
to
did put the
use-
sea mine.
I'm stuck.
We'll probably have to use winch pins to make sure we don't fall down the mountain, because it's really steep.
This skit is memorable. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
Studio
it's-
Cs.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh,
Are you stuck?
Why are they only making
Scott
C's? Shouldn't they make B's and
Sterling.
Oh,
A's?
there's nothing for me to connect this
No.
to.
C's get
Okay,
degrees.
I'm slowly moving. I don't know
Okay.
if it's a good move or a bad move. I just know I'm moving.
I need a
I
pin.
need a beer
Oh, that works.
or red just to run me over.
That
And
I was getting
teleport
mixed
into
up.
it.
I got me
Yeah.
stuck.
Okay, this is where I think get a winch pin and
If-
bring it over here.
If I could just get a little bit on this hill, everything else will be fine. I just need to get any sort of traction on this hill. It's just this going over this one spot
The
just
weird
gets
dip.
stuck.
Can we push it? Can
Oh,
we
yeah,
use
hold
the
on.
flipper thing?
Yeah, I'm grabbing it. If it lets me sit on top. All right, there we go.
It's just like pushing. Ah!
Well,
it just
that's-
lands on you.
Oh,
Kinda the
oh,
wrong way.
oh,
Oh, shit, it's gonna
oh,
roll
no!
away.
Oh no! Ah! Ah, this is watching
Full
it
Full
in
speed
slow
ahead.
motion.
Full speed ahead.
There you go.
Dude, somebody grab the flipper.
I got
it.
Okay, it's gonna get really steep. You're gonna slide to the right a lot.
No, I won't.
No, you'll slide to the. Oh, I guess we're on opposite
And
sides.
it's gonna
of the
slide to
same
the
thing.
right and then fall off.
No. Oh,
Keep on
no.
holding the gas. Keep holding the gas. You got this. You got
Checkpoint's
this.
below you.
Yeah. I got it. We're good.
All right, cool. If we break and we don't get the checkpoint, that would suck.
We're fine.
No. What if it gives us the checkpoint as it falls? So it just restarts at the fall every time it breaks. Just infinite reloads.
We now have to.
Ow.
Can I
Okay,
get
I'm
to the
down.
winch?
Oh,
Oh,
it's there.
it's going. It's going. It's going. There we
Nailed
go.
it!
Hey, can you revive
Yay!
me? Not like with the thing. Oh, we don't have any
Yeah.
anyways.
No, there's a reviver thing right here.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, hit the grave. Thank you very much.
So
I
I'm
like how
standing
some
out
of the
front.
poison persists through the grave.
0.3% of players have hit this check mark.
Let's go. We just went up 0.02.
We're badasses like that.
I need this.
Oh, yeah.
Stab myself.
There it is.
Is there any oil?
Only 7 more miles, y'all.
Oh, I threw it on the ground over there. I don't know what happened to it.
Only 7 more checkpoints.
Just don't remind me.
Oh no, there's no oil. Did you just say that there's 7 more checkpoints?
Yes.
There's 7 more miles, and I think there's like one every.
No. What checkpoint was that? 5? That was checkpoint.
Reach the. This is checkpoint 6.
Oh, yeah. No, it's only 8 more checkpoints.
What?
That's helpful, right? So encouraging.
Did you just say it was worse?
No. It's totally fine.
We did the first map in 2 streams.
All right, let me go and break out the scotch. I'm gonna get drunk.
Dude, there's not even that much map left. I feel like that can't be right. Like, I feel like I'm running out of map.
Have you seen the torture that we've been through?
Do we go back to the snow area? There's like a whole snow area we really haven't been, and we're kind of already on the. Unless we have to go. Yeah, hold on. This looks great.
We're not even halfway through the map.
Okay. Look at it. I don't know where we go.
Hey.
I'm just walking forward to see if there's anything.
I feel like we're gonna go down, go up, go down, and then back into the snow area. Based on what-
Yeah, go back in the snow area.
That's what it looks like to me as well.
Oh, great. All right, is everybody in? I'm driving.
I'm walking ahead, so
We're gonna. Got it.
it's
Operation
pretty
Ghiga.
smooth rolling. So far, it looks like we might have a bridge that we have to cross. That we have no lumber to. Oh yeah, we do. We do have some lumber to straighten out one side.
There's like 4 boards back at the checkpoint too.
There's
I'm
like
starting to
8
hear-
boards here.
I'm starting to hear actual in-game music now.
Yeah, did somebody accidentally turn it on?
I don't know.
No,
Oh, this is like
I'm hearing
actual in-game
environmental.
music.
Yeah.
I have
Oh.
my sound off. I only have sound effects.
What the hell? Okay, so we did go down. Now we're going back up. And then there was a Ghiga. Oh, this doesn't look terrible at all.
Yeah.
You just need to get the one at the end.
Yeah, we only
Yeah,
really just
so-
need to get the end.
Could
Got the nail?
I-
What's the nail gun? Is there a nail gun
You
here?
got a nail gun.
Got it.
Something like
Alright.
that. Oh, I bumped that. How about we pick this back up?
You two are a wreck.
How about we do something like this?
I yawned.
Then we'll need one from this side.
I'm a yawner. I did a
Oh,
yawn
there we go.
thing.
Perfect.
Yawn.
Got it.
All right, now how's this one look? Yeah, I don't think this
I'm
one's
a ho-ho hummer.
Ho.
Yeah, it's something my grandmother used to
360.
do. And then my grandmother, my mom, me, we all go, oh,
I'm
ho, ho,
not going
as
to
we-
guide
when we
you
get tired.
across that. I don't trust my ability to guide you across that.
Dude, you need to say low left or low right. That's about it.
Okay. I will retreat
Little
and
left.
see
Little
what.
left. Little left.
We're out of left.
Lean left. We completely off the left one.
Winch you backwards.
Or which forward?
Yeah, I was gonna say which
Uh,
forward.
Oh. Or just
Attach it to the
unicycling this?
Yeah, that side. Yeah.
Can't just scoot it like a dog on a
Or-
rug. Just scoot it across.
Monorailing this.
Monorail.
Monorail, monorail,
Um,
monorail.
Yes. Oh.
um,
Oh. Oh. Oh.
good job.
Sha. Monorail.
Ready?
Go.
Back when The Simpsons were really good.
Yeah, before there was 1,000 million episodes.
Yeah.
mean-
Oh, stay on it. Stay on
Realistically-
target.
Realistically, even if that tire doesn't grab, there it goes, getting closer. Okay, we're not going to make it any
Alright.
further. Stop. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Can someone unhook this? Hold on.
Yeah. Do I need to like
God.
throw you? Or are we good?
Oh, so close.
Nice.
We got it.
So
No, we
far
got
away.
it.
All right. Pull. All right.
I got bit by another invisible snake. So
I don't even see a snake. Maybe it hecked off. Did you reset us? Cool. What do we got up ahead here? This just is a hole.
Inside.
Oh, I see ice, and I don't know if
Oh.
this is where we're supposed to be going by blowing up the ice.
I think it is.
I will look around for some nitroglycerin.
Everyone get out and explore.
Watch out for invisible snakes.
Yeah,
Yeah, invisible danger noodles are
maybe this-
roaming about.
There's over here. Can I get somebody next with opinion on this one over here?
No.
There's, if you look to
I
your right,
actually don't
right
know
here,
which way we're
Steve,
supposed to go here.
there's a danger noodle sign. And then there's the
Oh.
danger.
Oh.
And the
Boom.
question is, do we go this way or do we go down into the ice? 10 bucks says we
Well, I
had
don't
nitro.
we have-
see.
Do we have like nitro to throw into the ice?
Yeah, 10 bucks
That's
says
what
we
we're
had
looking-
nitro.
Why
We
don't we
could,
just
like-
go this way and then use human markers to block off the mines? So we know where they are.
Anything here?
Really
That
just
yeah,
the
we'll probably
two
go
we have to
down.
watch out for.
Is it just the
Hey, I
yeah.
found motor oil.
Found
I'm
scrap.
going to
We
be
need that.
completely.
That's
Found
like-
radioactive. I found a person.
Oh my
Oh.
God, rest their soul.
What do you
Okay.
think we do?
It's me.
with- Oh, hey, look, nitroglycerin.
Okay, but
Nice.
also look, there's this other path here that's probably the way from the ice.
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm
either way, we're
thinking.
gonna
Alright.
end up here. So I
Um,
think we just go the way of the mines and we just make sure we avoid the mines, right?
I mean, we got nitroglycerin. We could just go through because
Let's try that nitro on the ice, and then if
Okay.
it doesn't really work, then we'll go this way.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm running with my remote.
The compromise.
I have fixed a little bit of the engine.
This might not be the ice. That's the okay. I'm starting to think the ice might not be the right way.
Yeah.
Are you saying that ice may be a trap?
Maybe. Hold on. I'll just explore it real quick. I'm back. Back with nitro.
Or we need to go up here.
Aim it low. Nice.
All right. We need the other one.
We still need more
There's
nitro.
no shot the RV was gonna get through that if that's all the one did.
Not with just one nitro.
No, I don't think we're supposed to go that way,
Did
bro.
it-
All right.
Toss me.
Get me. Oh, that was too far for you to get me.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a way to go. They planned it out too.
No, that's down. The way is up. Oh, this is literally just a hole for more loot. This is
Yeah.
not. Like,
It's a loot hole.
it's a
Oh, it's
loot
not meant to
hole.
drive in then.
We got
That's an
cute little
option.
hat.
We got a beer hat.
Wait, give me the beer hat. Where you think you could actually put beer in the beer hat? That'd be hilarious.
Oh my god. Look, Red.
Oh,
Glass with mustache and nose.
Funny.
I'm thirsty.
All right, I'm gonna take back some of this.
How the hell do we get this back out?
Oh shit! That's
Magic.
right. Can we just run from this way?
Oh, here we go. We can just walk out.
Please walk from this way.
Yeah.
Okay, so RV doesn't go in the hole.
All right, G,
Got it.
ready?
I'm ready. Where are we going? Where's Ghiga?
Right here, right here, right here.
I was walking, exploring out the whole other
Yeah,
direction.
I'm already holding the remote. If I drop it, it's gonna go in the hole.
Drop it on the thing.
I got on the wrong seat. That's funny. I hit my
Where are we
buttons.
heading? This direction?
Mustache.
Landmines.
Landmines.
Aha.
Can't go through the ice.
We
It's
just have
a
to
loophole.
make sure we avoid the landmines.
A loophole we could just sneak by, and we just didn't need the nitroglycerin.
I don't see landmines.
There you go.
There,
Look at
there,
that. That's
there.
great.
Wait, where are
Then-
you, Ghiga?
Giga, it's right next to you. Do you not see the landmine?
The big thing, I was looking for something that was actually
It
dangerous
looks like a
that I would
sea
actually
mine.
step on.
Yeah, it
Okay,
looks
fine.
like
The
a-
sea
mine
mine's
on
in
the
the
road.
land. How about that?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
underwater
no,
mines.
they were definitely harder in the other map because you would not see them.
Oh my god.
There's one in the
Okay,
front.
now I'm gonna
Oh,
run.
yeah, wow, look. It knocks it
I think there was one more.
from Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
What's that? Sea mine. Sea mine.
So now I'm more a little concerned about
That's
this.
the dangerous thing. Oh, wow, look.
There's a guy here. Nobody else concerned about the guy here?
A little bit. What do you want, bro? He just
Hold
looks
on.
at us all creepy
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, let me just
Oh, do we pay you?
put you back there. Hold on. All right. Yeah.
I'm gonna actually let you do the honors of this, Red, because I don't trust my aim.
Do I throw it at him or do I throw it at the wood?
I don't know if you throw it at the fence or if you throw it the barbed wire on the left side of it.
All right. You know what? We'll just split the middle.
I didn't do shit. I think you're just supposed to drive
I
through the
didn't
orange
shit.
and white
All
thing.
right, just drive through it. Everyone in, because who knows what's about to happen.
I
when
thought you were
Andrew
gonna
is-
throw it at the guy. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Especially when
Where's
there
the
was a
other two?
toxic irradiation barrel behind him.
Where's Wambat?
I'm above y'all.
Oh, alright.
Spider-Man.
Oh.
Well, that answers that question.
Something tells me we're
Are
not
we
supposed to go this
give him
way.
something? Are we supposed to give the guy something?
Maybe.
opens
What do you
it?
think he wants?
The
Beer?
guy wants a beer. Right?
Give him the whole beer. He did! He wanted a beer!
I'm a genius!
Go ahead and drive through it. I'll catch up. I don't know if
Oh
it's
man,
timed,
I
so
can't
I would
believe I
just
thought
drive.
of that. That was funny. Oh.
That's
Okay, really
a you
not a lot
problem.
of space still. Like,
Yeah.
You back up, take a left. You can drive over the barriers, apparently.
sure. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
can't
you
see.
can just go
Go
up.
up and a little to the right.
Okay.
Just a little to
Yeah.
the right.
Yeah. That here.
Yeah, and then stop.
Whoa.
Ooh, what is this?
Yeah,
Is this like a silo? It's a circle.
That's a giant landmine.
Take a boom and just blows up half the map.
What is that? What is this? We really just entered a restricted area. Oh,
Yeah,
there's like
this is
ship
definitely a
land.
missile silo.
It looks like a giant.
alright, cool.
Oh, that is like a missile down there. Like a. Otherwise, it looks like a giant.
Is that a
Oh, there's
sub?
no mines. All right.
Is this a submarine?
That is a submarine.
Or is that
Yeah.
Was this
It's
area
a
just like
tinker.
underwater and now it's above water? Is that what this, or like some ocean came through?
It's hard to tell what this
what
is.
Giant water thingy, that's for sure. Oh, antidote. Hold on, I'm gonna antidote myself.
A
Anybody else
tanker
need
that
antidote?
wasn't supposed to be. We weren't supposed to get to or
Antidote?
something.
Anyone? Antidote?
Yeah, the resolution is so
Anyone
low.
still poisoned?
I am actually dead now, I think. No, I'm alive. Barely alive. I
Alright,
have so
yes.
many broken bones? What?
Broken roads. Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Okay, so we're definitely going under the
Scoob.
ship.
Here.
Watch out for snakes. I'm gonna grab
We're
that
lost in the
antidote.
man, Scoob. There's so
Also,
many
I
That
spiders.
was a royal.
There's all the spiders. I'm gonna die. I'm dead.
What are you doing?
I tripped over a rock and had no health. I'm in the weeds too, behind you, Wambat.
I see you.
I'm hiding. There. I did find 2 pens to get me alive, so, you know.
Yeah, we only have. You can only unalive yourself 3 more times.
Nice.
No, we got plenty of oil.
Yep, we're going oil.
Hey. Although I think my health is still maxed out. Okay, whatever.
We're going under the submarine?
I believe so.
That's what I'm scouting here. It seems to
The other
be
way, too impossible.
an
Ow,
option.
ow, damn it, I was getting out of the way.
I'm a landmine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's not a
Didn't
good
know.
option past this.
There's another one on the
See.
right up here. To the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. I thought I
Yeah.
jumped in like John Wick here.
Okay, I
Oh,
don't know,
that's
where,
it
I don't know
now,
where
bro.
the other rest are, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's.
Red, don't blow us
Where are we
up.
supposed to go?
That
That's
is
the
the
question.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
because it gets too rough.
Okay,
but to go straight. So is it?
We're there? Do we just make a circle around this area? This area looks circly.
That's that gets really
We
rough.
make
So
a
like if you drive
giant
up to
circle?
left here, maybe. Nope, that just goes down. Where?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I have no.
I feel like we got to get over to the left here, and then go all the way back down. That's my gut feeling. But
I will
that's
trust your gut
clearly-
because I'm
that
lost.
can't be it. What do we go to this? Do we go here? Oh, this is.
And we
is
just
it
go straight
cold?
down into this little crevice that literally
There's
is.
so
I
many
see mine.
landmines. Yeah, I think that's where you would like drive up to the left and around it somehow. I'm trying to see if
Here we
this is
go.
our next stop over here.
There's a rock. Oh god, the tree moves. This is terrifying. There's a rock that looks like a way down over here, and then yeah, what's that all the way over there? Do we just keep going that way?
Oh,
This looks
man.
like a terrible. That's mud. That does nothing for us.
Well, howdy, Chi. I'm
We're
a
gonna head back
prospect.
up to mud.
Hello.
More nitroglycerin.
Can you blow up the mines with a nitroglycerin?
Probably. I don't see why you
There's some
couldn't.
scary-
Well, we used it on the
Turn
ice, so
on
how? Did you find some more?
Water for this?
Yeah, so there's one.
Hello? Holy
Actually,
cow. 1,
um,
2, 3.
Did we find more nitroglycerin?
Yeah, there's like a building area that's a sewage dump. Okay, correction, it's just a sewage dump. But why do we go to the
Please
sewage
do.
dump? Do we go in the sewage? I don't think we go in the sewage. Or is it sand?
Ouch.
I heard that.
Oh, that's actually filling it up.
I mean, that just makes plenty of sense.
Oh! Did you pull
I
And
turned-
everything that we
yeah,
did, let's
up
go
and
to the
path?
shittiest level possible.
Yes.
The sewers.
No, Ghiga just released like sand and it just filled up a hole and made the path for us. We just
Oh, nice.
Oh, how did you do
So
that?
that's that puzzle. So
I've
we'll
been
definitely
pushing
go-
random buttons.
Just pushing
Those
random buttons fixed it?
Yep.
Yeah. Very much.
I need this. Yep,
Yeah, I'm gonna see if the one thing works on the mines because there are some horrible mines.
Oh, nitroglycerin on it.
Yeah. Like this
I
one.
will-
We literally can't get in if this one's like here, right? You know, you feel me?
Yeah, I'll grab the second nitroglycerin and just walk behind you for when you need it.
It
Didn't do anything.
bounced off like rubber. Hold on.
Bounced off like rubber. Oh, no.
I don't
did
think they're
not
real.
explode it. Okay.
Do they not actually explode? Are you avoiding them for no reason?
Well,
I think it's
no, I'm not
probably
guessing that.
random ones.
Just jumping on it.
All right, we got to get the RV over here. Someone, everyone help. This is gonna be a challenge.
Yeah.
Actually, where's the RV? Let's challenge one.
Way
You
over
want me-
there.
you want me to
way
do like,
back over there.
You want me to be like Yosemite Sam, just jumping on the landmine? You got this done it, frickin' blah, you know, just lose it.
Farm
Yeah, those exact noises, whatever they were.
Okay.
I don't know who you're assuming. Oh, yes, I do.
What in the tarnation of a wild sports is going on
see.
here?
And
It's
you've
a
been eating
hole.
onions. Oh,
What is that? Hole?
Onions
I
are
like onions,
great.
though.
that's
Here we
what
go.
that's what Bugs Bunny says to Sammy.
I see a hole and I want to examine the hole. but I don't want to go there. So do we? I think we have to hard left here and go the long way to that stuff because there's no way we're up through.
Yeah. Because there's not much of a right other than a cliff.
Yeah, this looks like there's a hole down there, and it kind of goes
Yeah.
down there, but like not that much.
Nope. Yeah,
Alright.
no, I would say it is definitely a left through this bush here, and then there's a rock, but maybe you can squeeze up and drive over the top of this.
Luckily, there's a lot of trees around.
Sorry,
You don't need to
my-
wench to anything, I guess, right?
That's true.
Yeah. We might have
My cat
to.
jumped over to the left of me and started slow blinking, so I had to give her a cat kiss back.
I'm slow blinking because I'm.
Oh, my key cat doesn't do this slow
I'm getting
blink.
sleepy.
I slow blink at my cat, but he doesn't do it back ever. It's just really funny.
Aww.
No,
That's
she
how
does
they-
it sometimes.
That's
Actually,
how
she does it
they-
most of the times.
That's how they say they love
Want me
you.
to attach this winch over here
Pushies.
Oh, which
Push. Just
to
pushies.
pull the front of it around?
I just needed some pushies.
Oh, no, I think you're good.
All right, just warn me of landmines.
I need to reset the winch.
This is all
Reset the front winch.
with here, right?
Got it.
I have no
There we go.
idea what's going on.
If I go this way, I can go around. I think.
Sounds about right. Looks about right.
Yeah, and then to the
And
right.
cycle back around.
There
Okay.
you go.
Next second. Hey, I kind of remember this area. Kind of scanned it earlier.
Giga's song is playing right now. Giga's theme song.
I need to put some music on in the
Yeah.
background
Yeah,
since
should I
this
follow
game
you?
has like 0.
When I was a young boy.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a yes.
What?
What was-
I
What
was
was
trying to
that?
special follow Ghiga, but now we're just stuck again anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, we're stuck.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
I'm trying to figure out this path backwards again.
wait about what you doing. Oh, you're taking a beer.
Getting a beer so I can push.
Yeah. I forgot the beer makes you stronger.
Getting drunk
We
so you
did
can
not
push.
Oh my god, the pushing! Wow,
Uh,
we never pushed in the first game like ever.
No, we
It was at a
didn't.
win.
We've been pushing a lot this
Okay.
one.
and then now that
So
I drag my
we-
smoke so I can run
Look
faster.
like
Do have to figure out how to get
up this
up
I think
to
there's a
this
mine.
level somewhere. Because if we could drive up the side of this, but there's still trees and stuff in the way.
There. Yeah, I'm just worried about that landmine and any
Yeah.
future landmines because I know there's a few more. Could we just go farther left? That looks like a lot of trees. How far
Ah,
left could we go there? No, that turns into a cliff anyway.
I need
That's
a drink.
blocked
I'm
by
really
trees.
thirsty. Don't let me die.
Don't die.
Drink.
Ow! Really? That broke my legs.
It helps. I'll give you like a can ASMR.
Okay, we definitely need to just get back up the hill here. We'll probably.
That
just-
work?
Yeah.
I don't know if we should have gone to the left still. Maybe we should have gone like some way to the right. I don't care.
I don't. I think. I don't think. I
Fuck
think that
away.
works.
Okay, hold on. There's
There
a
you go.
landmine somewhere around here. Where is it?
There's a what? Right here to the right. There's one. So if I grab the winch, are you good? Oh, you're good. Weep.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Okay, I know there's more. Go be human landmine.
Yep. There's one right here. I am literally standing on top of it.
Ah, back.
I cannot see you. I just
Welcome
Okay.
back. Did you get a
Wait.
drink?
Yes.
closer than I wanted it to be.
What type of drink did you
Um,
get?
Oh, I do not like being stuck right now. That is terrifying.
We
Diet
might need to
Pepsi.
grab a winch pole and
Oh.
you're
Oh.
good. You're good.
Oh.
Stop.
Oh.
Oh yeah, go keep on going across. Well, there was
Yeah,
another landmine here.
I'm just gonna get out of here. This place sucks.
Yep.
It sucks. I
for it.
mean, a lot of booms.
Lots of booms. Big bada
Da-da,
boom.
boom, 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 boom.
Big bada boom. Multi-pass.
Hey,
Okay, Jar
I'll
Jar
stop and
Binks.
wait.
Gotta hit that boom, boom, boom.
You're
Oh,
rolling
I-
backwards down the hill.
Dude, I hear it go into park, so I know it went into park, but it's not going into park.
Oh shit.
That's the thing.
Oh, you have a wheel off in the
I-
front, just
that's-
spinning.
Yeah, I just that wheel's just living its own little dream, but it just keeps happening. I hear it go into park, and it just was like, no.
if we just go up and to the left, all the way up there, there's a stop sign or some type of sign at the top.
Oh, so this is where we're supposed to go left and all the way back down then.
Oh shit!
Stop. Oh.
In the
Oh,
shit.
name of
Nope,
the-
here it is.
Checkpoint
Here it is.
7.
Here's the
Oh.
checkpoint over
Oh.
here.
To
Hold
the
on.
left.
He's gonna.
I'm gonna assume this is probably.
Are we going down
Are we
into
going
a
down
missile
in here?
silo?
Yeah, it looks like down's the next step.
Oh.
Cool.
Are you sure? That looks
thank
really
God they
green
did.
and glowy down there. I don't think we're supposed to go down there.
Oh, guys, it's okay. They have
I-
army hats for us.
There is no other path forward.
Okay. Oh yeah, I totally skipped a cassette tape. I saw it. I just was not bringing it back.
We
Stab.
gotta replace our beer.
Yeah, no, this is definitely green and glowy. Is this a tonight problem, or at least we should throw a couple things at it before we collapse? Not sure how late we were wanting to go.
I mean, let's see what it looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah, at least need
We
to see
can
what
at
it
least
looks
get a
like.
I mean, it looks like a fun time as far as I'm
It
concerned.
looks like death.
I mean, it's just driving in circles.
It
And at the
looks
bottom is
like-
apparently radioactive goo.
Yeah, it
What
looks
happened
like
to
Yeah.
nitroglycerin in the goo?
it looks like cancer.
Oh no, cancer's up above. We're
Hey,
breathing in the fumes
Wait,
for
Matt,
cancer.
you tell us what it looks like down there, okay?
No, Red, don't you dare.
Tell us what it looks like. You tell
You just don't.
Did you just throw each other?
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was not fast enough. Oh my god.
Tell my family.
I mean,
I
don't
hate
worry,
them.
we're at the checkpoint. We can just revive you.
I know.
I'm dead.
Good
Hey,
try.
Red, no, wait, Red, come back. Real
What
quick.
do you mean? What?
This man.
Oh, I see
All the way
red.
down there.
Bye, red.
Yeah. I made it all the way down into
All way
into
Matt's
it.
dead.
Is it just me?
Yeah.
No, I'm alive.
Oh, that's not good. I'm
Oh,
stuck down
I'm
here.
dead. Okay.
We're good. We're good. All right.
Can't
But
get
yeah,
Can't
no,
get outta
it's
here.
definitely.
I'm stuck.
Oh no! Once you're down there, you're pretty much toast.
Yeah, I can't. I'm stuck. Stuck. Owl! What are you doing up this late? Or this early? This late? Hey, I got out. Look at me go. Now I can go revive everybody.
We're all alive.
You're all
Chi, we're going
alive?
down.
I thought
Yeah,
you
we're going down. Yeah.
No, I thought you guys
Chi,
died.
look at the hole.
We're doing this live.
What? I thought you were dead.
No, they died. I was fine.
Oh. I see.
Hang on, you're gonna just fall.
Okay.
Ah,
Well,
almost had it, I think.
Now you're dead. I'm just kidding.
I don't know if I can grab the winch from here.
I got
Ah,
it.
I broke
What
my
do you got?
legs!
Good music, Sonic.
It's 5 a.m. and you randomly woke up? Oh no.
Oh, shit.
I'm doing
Okay, I
pretty
found
good.
some links here.
I
Where-
fell.
Driving down
Uh,
into
Hi.
this green radioactive thing. Oh god!
There
oh,
is
God!
a ladder
How's it
over
going?
here.
Oh, what's happening?
Is
Hang
it
on.
going well? Made it.
We
Nailed it.
We got it across.
I'm scared. What just happened?
We got it.
We just made it do like tricks.
Oh, I'm dead again.
Oh god.
Oh, shit. I almost walked off.
Is
yeah,
everything
walking
across?
is very scary here.
Okay. All the wheels are on. And
Yeah.
I mean on the other side.
Okay, I think we're going to play the game of front and back with the winches here.
The daily trip into the nuclear pit. Definitely a normal destination. Of course. Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
that's
I'm
what it
dead!
is.
Ah! I'm dead.
Okay, hold on. Where are you, Wimbat? Hey,
I
Wimbat,
fell.
can you look at that?
Oh,
Please,
this
real
is
quick.
cursed. I don't like this at all.
All right. Can you go and bring them back to life? That'd be awesome.
This is so cursed. I hate this. Hey, there's a little doorway in here we drive through.
I don't think you
No?
threw me far. Oh no, I gotta go to the rock and up. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys know that RV's about to explode too, right?
No, it's fine.
It's not fine!
It's perfectly
It's
okay.
just got a little dense. It's fine.
I can still smoke while I'm dead. That's good.
Yeah, I'm just down here on a
Yeah, we can
platform.
just make some burgers on it.
I'm in the green stuff. It's really cursed. I hate it.
I'm
Nice.
coming. I'm coming. I'm a coming. You hang on there for Prospector Joe. He's coming. He's gonna
Prospector
get you back.
Joe. It's like swimming in green Kool-Aid.
Yeah. That's our liquid green gold.
Liquid green gold.
What is
I
green
looked for
gold?
real gold first. Then when that ran out, I found black gold, which is that Texas tea, the oil and stuff. Now
Texas
it's the
tea.
green gold.
Texas tea? Is that really what they call it? Texas tea?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
one of the things they used to call it
that's funny.
because a lot of the oil fields were in Texas.
You would know since you're Texan.
Yep. Prospector Joe's been to a bunch of places.
Are you guys still at the grave?
No, they're alive.
Okay, can somebody go to the grave? I don't know how I'm alive. I can't see a space between the death bar and I should take a screenshot. It's actually so close you can't tell.
Nothing's happening.
Because he's not quite dead yet.
Yeah, hold on. I haven't killed myself yet. I am now. Hold on.
Oh.
I'm going for it.
Oh, they just see a little
Yeah.
hobbit
It's
jump to its death.
alright.
It's solid. It's not even a liquid.
No, we don't get that fun.
Oh, it's you gotta have the. This is why there was so much lotion, though.
Is this what the lotion's for?
That's what the lotion's for.
Oh.
Okay, you might see the plan
Yes,
here.
because lotion fixes radiation burns.
Wow, I had no idea. I didn't know that's how that worked. Okay.
I hope this works as well as I want it to work.
Oh no.
No, it's not.
Oh, I'm not sitting in the seat, huh?
And neither was I.
We lost that remote. Hey, can somebody go revive?
And then the RV's in the middle.
No,
Oh,
That's
there
okay.
Oh nope.
Oh, no, we're-
Nope, I fell. I'm fucked.
Oh, wait, can you run back up?
dead.
She's dead.
No, I'm stuck down here.
No, you
Let's see if I can. I'll see if I can get back up.
There should
Yeah,
be
that way.
a ladder maybe somewhere.
There
No, you just
isn't.
gotta run. There's a lot of running. Smoke. Don't forget smoke.
Never heard of radiation cream before? Of course not.
No, other way, other way.
They must have invented that in the 50s, right?
Other way.
When they were worried about nuclear war and whatnot.
Other way.
Or 60s. I
Probably
mean.
not. They gave kids
Oh my God.
things with radiation in it in the 50s.
Radium.
Here's
and
this
stuff?
glowing. Here's this glowing ring.
But they also
Yeah. I
made
didn't think I
them
could
do,
jump
like,
up. I can't get quite up from this
No, just-
spot.
Keep going. Keep going.
If you keep going
Keep
to
going.
where the snow piles
Keep going.
are, you can get up there.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what
The
I
smoke. Okay, got it.
Not the first snow pile, but the second one. That's how I got up.
I'll just chimney smoke here.
While Wayne Bet's writing, I'm gonna send this picture. Here, I'll put it just in the live chat. Yeah, that's so you see how close to death I was.
I am hating these invisible snakes because I have died due to an invisible
Oh
snake.
my gosh.
I'm tired of all these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking radioactive, like silo.
Basically,
I was gonna say nuclear reactor, and then my brain stopped working.
Smooth brain.
Oh, you know what? That is a good point.
No valleys
I'm not
or
sure if I have
lumps.
one. I do have a little bit of
Oh.
orange cat meat.
Well,
it might be a
apparently the
singular, maybe
people-
half of a brain cell.
Apparently, the people leaving the guild have left apparently around like 9 o'clock or some shit.
Oh, like they're actually gone now.
Or apparently, they just left. I don't know who they took, but they just fucking left.
Well, you know what? Fuck those guys.
Right? Alright.
What did you do, Red?
He didn't do anything. Those guys are just
Right.
dicks.
I really am. Like, if they want people, they join people that go behind their back, create little groups away from people, don't interact with people, even though they say they want to interact with people, talk shit about people, cyberbully people as their leaders, you know what? That's fine. That's
Are
their
we
problem.
back at junior high?
Basically.
Yeah, right?
That's exactly
That's-
what it was like.
That's what it's been like with these people.
It's crazy.
I'll say the same thing I say all the time. I'm too old for this shit.
Exactly. That's what I say about everything. It seems like it's too old for
Okay.
this shit.
Ooh, I really don't know. What if we don't pull that side? I'm thinking if we
What?
just
What side?
Can
No,
you
I'm not
unhook
kid-
the
I'm kidding.
front and move it further down the bridge?
I'm afraid the weight's gonna pull me, but we can try.
no, wait, no, don't do that. Hold on.
I think you're just going to lower it straight into the abyss. I don't think there is a good way.
I mean, that actually
ends.
sounds like a good idea.
Just drop it.
Just drop it into the goop.
Ow.
No, we get it all the way down. We still got to
Oh.
move it over to where the well, someone just fell to their death. To where the
You can see-
ladder is.
You can see where the doorway
And
over
we
there
can
is.
get
Though.
down the rest of
Ah!
the way there.
Yeah, all according to plan, kinda.
You can see where the door is down there, right? Where you drive out.
I haven't seen that yet. This has almost gone perfectly. I think I have to use the cabinets to parkour my way back to a seat so I can grab the. Oh, I can just fall out from the bottom. Okay, well, all right. Hold on, I'll go back up. I'm just gonna lower it down. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Everything. That's right, Chi. Very good.
Okay, I'm on the
All of it.
hood.
Yeah, we need the remote though. I had to reset or release the winch. That's the tough part. Okay, well, that's a spot.
Let me change seats.
No.
No.
It's alright, I got it. Almost. There we go.
This is great to watch.
Let me sit down.
And put myself in the passenger seat just in case.
Oh my god, you guys.
Yeah, what?
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
What are you doing?
Play the game.
What-
I
Play-
fucking
Play
died.
the game!
I fell. My legs broke. Giga's at the pit too? Wait, hold on.
I'm dead.
How are
Chi,
you
can go
dead?
with
Where
me?
would you go?
Giga's been dead apparently.
I've been dead for a while.
Wait, but we've been to the grave. When did you die again?
You know, I'm not really good at judging jumps.
No, me either. It's fine.
And kissed by a rose
46,
from the
46.
grave. Ooh.
Alright.
So how dead is everybody? Am I the last one left?
No, I'm still alive. I'm going to the grave.
Oh, okay.
I'm a millennial. How dead do you think I am?
When the term hanging out is used
Well,
literally.
physically,
You're right.
That's the question. Emotionally, probably pretty dead.
Been dead for a while. Oh goodness.
Is the thing right there with you, Red, or did we lose one of the winch pulls?
I grabbed the new. We might have lost it. You know, I just narrowed down. We probably lost it.
Oh, Red's dead.
Yeah.
We might
I'm
find
going,
it
I'm going to
sitting
bring
there.
you guys back right now. I'm on my way back.
Oh,
It's really hard to get out of that hole once you get down in.
I got Red back up.
Oh, you
Okay,
did?
well, I
Down
kind
the
of
other
wanted to
one
be
did.
up there because I needed another winch control.
Yeah.
went back
If you go back to that next thing, there's a ladder that leads you up.
Yeah,
there's
there's a lot of
ladders.
effort. Can you just throw me up there? That seems
Throw
faster.
him. Throw him.
I don't know where you're throwing
Yeah.
me. I don't know what your plan is here.
There you go.
I'm
I have no clue what the plan is
Let's see
here.
how I
Go,
die.
go over,
Don't
go over
die,
to
Ghiga.
the go up a little, and then throw me on top.
The truck is
Dashboard.
the truck is suspended in midair.
Yes.
There we are. That worked.
Just don't fall
Okay.
again.
There's
Because
gonna
we
be an
lose that
ad
one,
in
then we
about 1
can't do this.
Ad break. You want to break
No,
from
I've
the
already had
ads?
mine too.
Okay, can you grab that winch, or is it too high?
Do you want to break from the
No, I got it.
ads?
Okay, now pull it back behind, like
Yeah,
up the hill, so we can
Ghiga,
just
you
kind of
don't
like
have to be an ad that's gonna play
Pull it
ads.
back behind a wheel, like this
Yeah,
way,
up-
or
keep going up. Yep,
Do you
yep,
want to
yep.
break from the ads?
A little left, because we're gonna try to put it back on the platform.
Use your Twitch
About here?
Prime today.
You
More
want me
left,
to
more
Your
left. Almost against the
Amazon
wall.
Prime.
Yep.
Use your Amazon Prime. Is that
Yeah,
another
Ghiga.
Prime, like
Maybe.
Optimus Prime?
But yeah, Ghiga, I think you should help me record a cover.
Is the
For
front?
what cover?
I don't know yet. Oh.
Yeah,
I-
never
I-
know.
I think something was being silly there. That was fun.
That's all right.
Oh goodness!
I think I'm ready to call it a night anyway.
I
Yeah,
vote
what is
the
this?
same.
7.
Is there
Really?
someone you want to go to?
We like doubled.
I don't know.
I want to
I
go
have
to
check
bed.
and see who's live here.
Don't set me on fire.
That's fine. Just burn me to death. I don't care. It has been fun. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for playing something that apparently the majority of people never accomplish. We've
That was kind of
accomplished something today.
Honestly, if we end up beating this, I'll feel really accomplished.
Oh, we'll be.
It's like 0.1% of the people may get this far in the game
We're
ever.
beating this game. That's period. That's facts. That's
All right.
We're locked in.
So
We're gonna get it done, damn it.
In 2 weeks. We're
2
going-
weeks.
Coming
Sounds
back
good to
again
me.
in 2 weeks.
Is that the door? Fuck, that's the door we gotta get to. Shit.
Um,
Alright.
real quick. What do you think, Chi, for sending him off to Farah? You feel okay with that?
I don't know. I need to check my list first. I haven't got to check.
Okay, yeah, check your list.
Well, good night, you all. Stay out of trouble.
Bye,
I'm
Ghiga.
going
Yeah. Have a good night, Giga. We'll see you tomorrow.
Alright.
Yes, we will. I was like, what's tomorrow? What's the... Yep. Farewell,
Oh,
y'all.
it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Maybe.
I'll say bye for the next 3 minutes as I try to find the disconnect button. There it is. Farewell.
I'm gonna put some music on my side.
Yeah, we could go to Farah. That's fine.
Okay, let me get Farah's stuff up. First off, let me at least put some music on. I'm
Alright,
going stir crazy without any music.
I'm actually going to exit the voice so I can do my sign off.
Yeah, I'll do the same. I'll
Thanks,
see you on that
Amanda.
way.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, guys. We're gonna go say hi to Farah the Bat. She's playing Moonlight Peaks, which I never heard of, but it looks really cute. Looks like a Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley type of game. It looks cute. So go say hi to Farah. Thank everyone for hanging out. I appreciate everyone that lurkied. Oh, there's an ad break right now. I'm sorry. Thanks for stopping by, Ezio. It's good to see you. I'm glad you got to make it. I'm sorry you woke up at 5 a.m. Alright, I love you guys. Thanks for all the love and support. I'll be back on Monday for our first coding stream. I love you. Have a good night. Get the fuck out. Goodbye.